Sometimes I'd like to be alone in my own mind. I feel at home within these walls. I fear my own absence of association.
It's the halfway point of the World GT Championship, Season 8 of the series, and we're here at the incredible Nurburgring for some excellent action coming up to you. It is around the Grand Prix circuit, and we're going to have some 3 sprint races, 20-minute races with GT3 cars. It should be absolutely fantastic. My name is Paul Smith, alongside me is Chaz Draycott in the commentary booth, and Chaz, after last week's disappointing end to last week, because it was actually shaping up to be a really good race last week, but after last week's disappointment, and we'll get onto that in a second, we'll move on to a completely different track, the Nurburgring. This is quite a tight and technical circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, the Grand Prix layout especially is it's very challenging. The first sector is very slow, fast, slow, fast. It's a lot of start-stop stuff. You've got a very tight turn 1, big drop on the apex, and then over a crest at turn 2. You've got a curved braking zone for turn 3, and then another tight turn 4 to the right. And you're on the throttle when you're coming out of there. There's Astro on the left that you can lose it on just the first sector of this lap alone, which is a lot simpler than it used to be. It used to be a very fast right-left chicane, as you and I know and love it. Even though we did used to see Formula 1 cars upside down there. I'm not talking about you, Pedro Diniz. But there was a lot of changes, and whether it works or not, it's Marmite. But I think for these drivers tonight, it's going to be a real challenge, and the rest of the circuit as well. The classic Grand Prix circuit here at the Nurburgring. It's great to watch these cars around, and well, the GT World Challenge was just there over the weekend, wasn't it? And there was a fantastic race in that as well.
Absolutely. So we'll bring the schedule up on screen here, and as you can see, the Nurburgring, we're using the World Endurance Championship layout, so the more open of the 2 chicanes at the Vidal chicane towards the end of the lap. We've got a 1 week break here in the championship for the new build of iRacing. So we'll be back on the 21st of September with Motegi GP. I'm really looking forward to Motegi, by the way, because it's a very underrated track, is that one. Spa-Francorchamps for the endurance race, if we can get it to the finish. Imola, Barcelona, Circuit de la Sarthe is going to be my favourite of the endurance races. And then the Indianapolis road course coming up. We are going to quickly just go through your drivers' standings, but they're the same as last week, because as people may or may not be aware, last week we had the race meeting was abandoned due to a complete failure of the server, of the race server, so the results were null and void. So we've got the same championship standings as before. Sarika, Evdoka and Harrod at the top of your standings. They're the main sort of challenges, but Evdoka, I would say, is the little bit more surprising one to be up there, considering that you got last season's champion, should I say, Harrod, and Ross McFarlane right behind him.
Yeah, and then, even Christian Rose, I mean, he's tied with Alex Arana for 5th place there, and he's only, 7 points behind McFarlane. So Shifty, as he's known, is one of those guys that's right in this fight, and he's just scoring points week after week, and he's not really lighting the world on fire or being very exciting in terms of doing that, but he's just getting the job done. And we keep saying this week in, week out. There are drivers in this field that just do that. Moreno Sarica, though, doing a smashing job at the moment, but you can just see the difference it makes. His teammates Josh Thompson and Alex Arana have both had issues in certain race meetings, and it's dropped them right out of that fight. But it just shows as well how strong this championship is, doesn't it? You cannot slip up once, otherwise you drop right down, and you've got to try and regain that momentum again.
Absolutely. As Pro-Am as well will show you, Mike Horder has got a bit of a gap, but then look at how close it is from 2nd all the way down to 10th place. Just 64 points covering those 9 positions. It is incredibly tight in your Pro-Am standings. And Chris Wood, considering the bad luck that Team Mad have had with their McLarens this season, I'm actually surprised to see Wood up there.
Yeah, I mean, at Monza, all we seemed to be doing was broadcasting the fact that there were Team Mad McLarens going off the circuit. They were littering the gravel traps throughout most of the races that night. But to be honest, it's good to see Chris up there. He's a smashing bloke, is Chris. And Mike Horder, though, that's quite a gap that he's got up there. Nearly 70 points clear. But we've seen in this championship, Paul, just how quickly that can turn around. But he is the reigning champion, though, so he's got some honour to uphold, hasn't he?
He certainly does, and he's got to keep up the honour of his team as well. No pressure. As going on to the AM standings, and again, it's a case of John Roberts hasn't really been setting the world on fire in the amateur championship, but he's been getting those results and getting those points, and that is what counts towards this championship.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, some of the guys that are chasing him down there as well, Chris Byram as well, we saw that he got the reverse grid pole twice in the first race meeting of the season at Silverstone. Lars Van Ryn, he's up there as well. Morgan Butler was an absolute star at Monza. I've still not made the Morgan Butler fan club page on my website yet. Dean Powell, another one. We haven't really seen much of him or Michael Blake this season, but they're both scoring points ahead of Matt Drake up there, who will have been happy that the race got abandoned last week, because just as the server had its issue, he took out P2 overall in the race when he was being lapped, and I've not let him live it down yet, don't you worry. But yeah, he's looking to move on to this week with a positive outlook, let's say.
And then looking at the teams championships as well, only 9 pro teams in the championship, but you can see how close it is there between your top 2. Texas Fitstyle Motorsports, they're not out of it yet, but they're certainly just falling back that little bit, but they're involved in that battle with their compatriots in the Renvale Fitstyle Motorsports car.
Yeah, the two stablemate teams there doing a good job together, 3rd and 4th. Gives themselves some sort of buffer over Sim Sports Racing USA. Not quite in terms of points, but you know, there's that mental buffer of just knowing if one team goes ahead of the other, then they've not got too much to worry about, because they can at least celebrate with their team. But yeah, those top 2 teams, considering that in the Drivers' Championship, that sort of gap would be considered close. But when it's teams as well, that's incredible, that is. And I think that Pure Sims OBP have got a real chance of taking the fight to Williams Esports. We know that in the endurance round, the Williams Esports team are pretty untouchable, because, let's face it, that's what they're here to do. But yeah, that's impressive, that is. And I really do hope that Pure Sims can maintain that sort of performance.
And then finally, your Pro-Am Teams Championships. It's Boosted, SimSport, Motorsport at the top of your standings. But then Team Mad heading out the mscienceuk.com team, Paceworks Esports, Team Lizard KRD Motorsport, P1 Racing XVR and Vulcan. Again, it's been some really good competition in that Pro-Am Championship, as long as you haven't got a Boosted sticker on the side, because they've been utterly dominant. Yeah, they have. Well, every time that we look through the Pro-Am or the Am standings, there's always one of their cars up there, whether it be one of the McLarens or whether it be, I think some of them are running the Audi, aren't they? It's quite a good performance from them, to say the least, so far. But I imagine there's going to be a little bit of inter-team rivalry as to which one takes the honours there, much like there will be in the TechSense and Renvale Fitstyle Motorsport camps as well. Well, don't forget that they've also got the Ford GT of Alex Neller, who, of course, won the second race at Monza.
And then
on that
made
week.
a scene at Daytona.
Well, thankfully for his sake, there's no protests being looked at or allowed for last week because of the fact that the meeting was abandoned. So he is a lucky boy, that's for sure. We've got a couple of minutes left before we get into the end of qualifying, and we'll talk a little bit about the track. Actually, you mentioned the track whilst you were talking at the start of the broadcast. We'll bring it up on screen there. Track conditions are not too bad. 26 degrees track temperature, air temperature 18 degrees, but you can see on that actually rather small map, if I'm honest, you can see the how that looks, and really overtaking is actually surprisingly difficult here, isn't it, Chaz?
Yeah, I was doing a broadcast over the weekend of a 3-hour endurance race, and the fact that there were very little overtakes actually on the circuit. A lot of it came down to stints and just time in the pits. That was the only time we saw any real overlaps, or if there was an issue for a car or if someone had an off. There was no genuine overtaking, other than maybe a bit of slipstreaming here and there, just a little bit about braking. But yeah, it's strange that there isn't so much overtaking because there's so many corners, but a lot of them, they flow into one another, especially that first section. I mean, it's hard to get an overlap. As it goes out of turns 1 and 2, over the crest, as they get in towards turn 3, you'll see some of the guys try and send it down the inside, but then get ready for incidents as people run deep there, because it's downhill into a braking zone. It's not easy to get right. And then as they try and then get a switch back for the right-hander after that, then they'll also try and light up the rears and maybe have a bit of a wobble, bit of contact on the exit there. I'm in the sim as well with the safety car button ready to be pressed just in case, because it can very easily get a bit clogged in there, can't it, Paul?
I want to draw your attention to some of the lap times. You can find the lap times racebot.tv/timing2. You can see it at the bottom of your screen right there as to the web address, but you can see, looking at the lap times, the pros are currently qualifying, finish off their qualifying. Pete Harrod down in 27th, McNally and Lewis Bibby 31st and 32nd. Yeah, that's not thought of for the pro drivers.
No, well, to be honest, I'm gonna call them out now. I've had a couple of drivers messaging me before the session saying, "Oh, this track doesn't suit my car. I don't like it." Pete Harrod was one of them. He said he's really struggling around here in the McLaren tonight. And the other one was Ross McFarlane, who interestingly made the choice to go to the Mercedes, but he's doing all right at the moment. He's 12th. We usually see him within the top 5, but we know what his race pace can be like over the course of a night, so I reckon that he'll be climbing back up the order. Same with Pete, to be honest. You know, we've seen this before this season from Pete, that he might have a bit of a poor qualifying, but then when it comes to the race, he just gets on with the job and he can just pick off overtaking manoeuvres here, there, and everywhere. And it's the performance of a reigning champion that I'm expecting to see.
Certainly is. We'll go through the grid very shortly, but again, a couple of pro-ams up in the top 10 in qualifying. That's going to be interesting to see how they mix it out throughout the race. You can see the live pictures on the right-hand What's that? Right-hand screen is what I was meaning to say. I could do words good, I promise. It's been a very difficult weekend, okay? We had to deal with the fallout of the whole Max Benecke, Josh Rogers thing in the Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup, because that was a contentious thing. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the World GT.
It's like, don't mention the war.
Yeah, so there's some really good opportunities for some of these Pro-Am drivers to get themselves some really good results here in the first race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jake Blackhall, he's up there in 6th place. Bradley Burns is 10th. Tom Jacobs is in 20th. I just want to mention Tom, because he did send me an image before. He was very pleased with himself because he was faster than Jake Blackhall temporarily in practice. But it seems that the tables have been slightly reversed now, I'm afraid.
Can I point out as well, Ethan Bass, 9th place at this point in time as well.
Good point. I missed that.
We'll give you your full grid in just a moment or two, as the session is just going to change over. And in fact, let's bring up your grid right now. So Chaz, for a change, is going to take you through your first 20 drivers.
For the triple eight then of Alex Arana, pole position from his teammate Josh Thompson, and would you believe it, Moreno Sarica third on the grid. Williams 1, 2, 3 once again. Michael Avdoka is their nearest challenger, fourth on the grid, with George McClay in the Texan Spitfire Motorsport car in fifth. Jake Blackwell, as we mentioned, there sixth highest Pro-Am. Harold Stadler and Lewis Bibby, two stablemates on row 4, with Ethan Bass and Bradley Burns rounding out your top 10. Behind them is Christian Rose, watch out for him, and his teammate Ross McFarlane coming through the order. Paolo Munoz is 13th, ahead of Chris Wood in 14th place. Adam Watson, the Pro-Am, is 15th for Paceworks Esport Cobalt, and Daniel Lee just behind him. We then have Carl Moore and Michael Gray on row 9, with Simon Underhill and Tom Jacobs, as I mentioned, in the Ferrari, rounding out the top 20. Behind them is Dean Powell and Alex Neller in that Ford GT, the pesky Ford GT. Mohamed Janko and Pete Newman line up on row 12. The KRD Motorsport Ferrari there in 24th. Mike Horder and Stephen McCaffrey are on row 13 ahead of Ben Gregory and Pete Harrod down in 28. So that's going to be a hell of a performance from Pete, I hope. I'm sure we're all ready for that one. Morgan Butler 29th, just ahead of Mark Woodhouse, who rounds out your top 30. Kieran Chung 31st. In 32nd place just behind him, I won't lie, I missed that. Chris Byron 33rd. We had Lars Van Ryn 34th. Adam Hedgecock and Matt Draycott make up your 18th row of the grid. Sean Gardner is alongside John Roberts in 38th, with Cam Dance and Simon Field rounding out your 40. There's still more cars, believe me. James Whitehouse, Steve Burke and Gavin Baker did not set times. They are three of quite a handful of drivers that have penalties that carried over from the round before Daytona, Paul.
If you want to know who was 32nd, it was Adam McNally.
Thank you, mate.
There you go.
Apologies, everyone.
No, that's okay. We had to fire through them because, well, the drivers, as you could see, were all gridded up and they were waiting for the start of this race. So it's the first of 3 races. You get 3 races on a sprint race evening. The drivers all queuing up behind. It is then your pole sitter of Alex Arana coming around the final corner, waiting for the green flag. He's going early. Still waiting, the green flag hasn't come out. Now it has, we're underway. Down towards turn number 1 and straight away Arana under pressure from Josh Thompson, looking to the outside. You got Moreno Sarica to the inside. Now is there going to be any accidents, or are we going to get through the first part? No, we're not. There's a big accident in the dear, there's a number of cars. Carl Moore is involved in that, Alex Neller,
Jacobs.
Yeah, Jacobs is involved in that. Underhill.
Honestly, if it wasn't Underhill, it wouldn't be anyone. Honestly, Underhill has such bad luck with these first lap incidents, mate, and I think Carl Moore's pulled that car over and retired already.
Yeah, Gavin Baker was one of the other cars that's been involved at the start of this one, as well as they're heading on through towards the halfway point of lap number 1. We're looking at George McClay, 5th place ahead of one of his compatriots in Harold Stadler, Lewis Bibby as well behind them. Before you get to the first of your Pro-Ams of Jake Blackwell. Bradley Burns, 9th place, really good start for him to be gaining a position, but so far so clean, apart from that mayhem at turn number 1.
Yeah, it was, I think that they got a bit lucky that the accident found its way to the outside of the circuit rather than being stuck on the apex, because we've seen that before. I'm sure everyone's seen some sort of incident there. Look at the reflections and the lights on these cars as they go through the weight transfer from the left to the right there. Looks fantastic. A little bit of dirt on the exit. You're going to expect to see that kicked up. Fantastic shot there as the field all filters down the hill. But look at these Williams cars at the front, flying away at the moment. But Michael Avdoka, he's going to be hoping to get the tow hook out on that car and go with them. George McClay, good performance from him so far. We've got a bit of shenanigans here. Janko there, that was side by side with the 91 of Steve McCaffrey. This is Mike Horder. Oh, there's contact behind. I think McCaffrey's off. Yeah, that was contact with Pete Newman. I think McCaffrey didn't leave him the room there. That's my initial thought, because they were side by side. Newman was on the inside. And unfortunately, the Audi has to enter the Paris-Dakar Rally to get back on the circuit. And he does there recover. But yeah, real shame to see that, because it was looking like a promising first lap from him.
Certainly is. Well, your leaders are scrapping it out, the 3 Williams cars at the front of your field. We're going to try and get a look at what happened at the start of that race as well in just a second. But the Williams drivers doing a good job pulling out at the front of your field, as I mentioned. But These drivers, they're pushing hard. It's a sprint race. You imagine it to be a slog. Lewis Bibby putting pressure on Harold Stadler for 6th place as well.
Yeah, a little bit of an inter-team battle here, which is nice to see. The TechSense Fitstye car on the back of the Renvale Fitstye car. Here we have a quick look back then at the start of the race. This is Lewis Bibby. And this, I believe, Tom Jacobs in the middle. This is Carl Moore now, who's now down in 43rd place. Let's see what happens here. Simon Underhill. Well, I said Simon's got bad luck. I'm afraid that's on you, mate. He goes way too hot into turn 1. Oh, and Tom gets smacked in the rear there by one of the KRD Ferraris. Everyone just tries to sort of get out of the world's most expensive sand car park. Here he is on board with Simon Underhill now. While it is wonderful to hear the noise of the 5.2 litre V10 on board the Audi R8 LMS, it's about to become a bit of a bad noise for some of the drivers around it. You can see now it gets on the brakes, way too hot, into the back of Daniel Lee, and then as the car rolls backwards he just collects more and more, and it was Pete Newman gave Tom a right hit in the rear there. I'd be surprised if Pete doesn't get much damage from that. A little bit of argy-bargy there from Draycott running deep into turn 1, or was that Steve Burke? Just nudging someone out of the way, but still, bit of a check-up and just a bit of traffic, isn't it, really? But these BMWs, they look very strong on the brakes into turn 1, as I think just behind there, Lewis Bibby has got past Harold Stadler, Paul.
Certainly did. Up ahead, then, up into 6th place, and Harold Stadler now needs to worry about behind him, because behind him, he's got Jake Blackall. There he is. You see him on the screen. The SimSport Racing US driver, should I say? I nearly said UK then. As they head on through towards this medium speed left-hander, and then get it over to the left-hand side. Slow it down. Really tricky right-hander is this one to get right. And then back up to speed. Away they go. Down towards the Dunlop hairpin once again. These drivers, they're all starting to spread out at the front of your field a little bit, and so things just gapping out around this track. But I could tell you further down, James Whitehouse, what a start for him. Started at the back of the field, he's up to 30th already. He's got himself ahead of Matt Draycott this time. Wonderful start for James Whitehouse. I almost had the pleasure of meeting him on the weekend at Century Sim Racing. He invited me down to have a go and go and meet some of the guys, but unfortunately the event had to be called off, so we're hoping that we can still meet very soon and have a good evening sim racing. But yeah, like you say, Paul, what a fantastic start for him. He's ahead of the Team Lizard Motorsport car. There's a P1 car in there as well. I believe that's Chris Byram. This is Bradley Burns. He was a lot further up the order. Yeah, he was
earlier.
Up in 9th earlier, so something's happened to him. I think it was last lap.
That's a shame, that, because Bradley, for that 3M Racing team, doing an amazing job, and I don't think he's got the most experience in the world on iRacing. I know he's been on it a while, but when obviously Pure Sims was formed and 3M Racing is one of the teams that they run under, it was definitely a big thing for them to get Bradley on board, because he's done quite a bit of sim racing, but he was a bit seldom seen on iRacing when it was CQR Club, and he was in that team as well. But good to see him out there, but a shame to see him that far down after such a promising start. He's on the back at the moment of Cam Dance, who we saw in previous meetings was not scared of making a manoeuvre, and he's got Adam Hedgecock just ahead of him now, and Hedgecock's lighting up the flamethrowers like something out of Robot Wars to try and ward him off.
Yes, absolutely. As they head on through, Dance losing it a little bit. That's allowed Burns the inside, but if Dance can hold it around the outside, it gives you the inside for this next corner. But Burns, great little chop off of the nose, and that allows him to get ahead of Cam Dance. So that's Dance behind, and in front, look at those flames. That's Adam Hedgecock, and he's getting under pressure now from Burns. That's his next take. But yeah, action all the way through the field. It's BMWs 1, 2, 3, but then it's Ferraris 4, 5, 6 and 7. Another BMW, then the Mercedes. You saw Mercedes as there goes Burns down the inside. You don't see that many moves into the Dunlop hairpin, really. It's more of a one-line corner, but Burns making it work.
Yeah, it's surprising, because usually you'd think a hairpin is an overtaking opportunity, but it's quite a high-speed hairpin, isn't it? And the camber really helps you on the inside of the corner, so if you try and make a move there, it's often quite a compromised one, but Yeah, Byrne's doing a good job there. It's respectful stuff from Hedgecock as well. I mean, a lot of people that have raced Adam will agree with me that Adam is one of the cleanest racers, that you can have such confidence racing against him side by side all the time. And he's actually got into the world of commentary recently as well, and he's been doing a cracking job of that. Michael Gray, that we're on board with now, though, is trying to chase down Christian Rose, and he's down in 14th place. His teammate Paolo Munoz is the next car up the road, but Michael Gray, he's one of those Pro-Am drivers, isn't he, Paul, that just sort of rises above the rest. He's been very, very quick in pretty much all seasons that he's competed in the World GT Championship.
Now, because of somebody, and it's not yourself, Chaz, somebody made the comment that if you say his name, Michael Gray's name, in the right way, it makes it sound like Fade to Grey by Visage, but there you go. He's Michael Gray, that's for sure, as he comes through the arena section onto the power. He's just not, he's in that slipstream, but he's not quite close enough to make the move yet, is what we're seeing at the moment from Michael. But doing a good job in his BMW, the XVR BMW, almost in Vanta Black, you would say, is that one. But we'll move forward through the field as well. We're keeping a tab on everything happening at the front. George McClay is putting the pressure on Michael Evdoka for the position of first non-Williams car.
Yeah, it's good to see this performance from George. I first raced against him in a V8 Supercars series, and I had to ask him after the race, how did you do that? Because honestly, the pace that this lad has is phenomenal. He's such a modest guy as well. You can say, oh, that was really quick, and he'd be like, oh, I'm not that good. But yeah, he's really showing Evdoka that he's not here to mess about at the moment. And this is Pete Harrod, your reigning champion, and that's the Schumacher S's, which, as we all know, is a very famous fast machine, fast corner up a hill. And the McLaren, well, it likes to ruin your race at high speed, doesn't it, Paul?
Well, we'll have a look on board then. He's behind one of the Team Mad cars at this point as they head on uphill.
He won't be in a minute.
No, he won't be in a minute. So he's going to go over that curb on the... This is the curb that usually spits you out. There you go.
Oh.
Great reaction from Pete to keep it out the wall, and luckily for him, there is plenty of runoff there. We'll get another look at that actually from our off-board cameras, just to see as we hit the halfway point of the race. So it's that little left curb and the bump, and then before you know it, he's off.
It's a rough ride, that is, and I know Pete uses a direct drive wheel as well, so that would have definitely been that would have hurt your wrists if you held on to that the whole way. But he was lucky as well that the Audi behind him, I believe that might have been, I'm just looking a bit further down as to who that could have possibly been. I think it wasn't Kieran Chung, because he's or was it Kieran Chung? Yeah, it may have been Kieran actually in the Cobalt car, but he was lucky he wasn't closer to the back of him there, because the speed that he lost up the hill from that, when it spat back over to the left in the end, that could have caused quite a big incident. We're looking here at Dean Powell. His teammate got taken off at the beginning, and he's looking to avenge him, but he's doing a fine job at the moment in 16th in the M-Science car.
Top amateur as well, which is why we're looking at him. The Ferraris seem to be a very good car for around this track. They seem to really deal with the curbs very well indeed, and so Dean Powell making the most of his opportunity that's come to him here, because we've seen how this car does seem to suffer with top speed, doesn't it? But you don't really need a top speed car around here. You need a car that gets to that top end as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's it. And a lot of people do often forget that. They think, oh, a car's got the highest top speed, I'll go for that one. But it may take a bit longer to get there, and then there's no point having that top speed if it doesn't get to it as quickly. But the Ferrari, yeah, stretching its legs quite a bit here at the moment, and it's nice to see, because I know that in previous seasons of the World GT Championship, there's only been 1, 2, maybe 3 Ferraris on the grid. John Roberts often sticking with the Ferrari. But yeah, it's nice to see that there's a couple more drivers using it this time, because it did get quite a nerf a while ago and get knocked back in the performance department. Just behind these guys as well, by the way. Oh, I was going to say it was Mike Horder, but he's just lost all 3 of those places. That's Morgan Butler in there as well, Mohamed Janko. They were 3 wide going into turn 2. They managed to just sort that out. Janko got out of it very sensibly, but Pete Newman has gone through now on Mike Horder. What can Morgan do here to try and stay with his teammate? He's got the inside line to the right-hander, gets the weight transferred nicely. And Morgan will hold on to his position just inside the top 20 there as well, and that will actually mean that Morgan is second in AM at the moment. Mike Horder, of course, the Pro-Am driver. Same with Mohamed Janko and Pete Newman. So Morgan mixing it up with the Pro-Ams here, and again, just showing the improvement that he's had since the last season.
I will also give a mention to Kieran Chung in the less favoured Audi around here, in third place in amateur as well. He's in 23rd overall in this race, so some really good performances from your amateur drivers. The Pro-Ams, of course, mixing it, although not as much with your pros now. Only Jake Blackhall and Adam Watson who's actually moved up to the top 10. He's the second place Pro-Am, with Ethan Bass down to third place in Pro-Am. In 11th place. The field, we've got quite a bit of field spread here at the moment. In fact, speaking of Kieran Chung, he is right there behind Bradley Burns, who's made his way past him. He's made his way past him and Adam McNally on this lap alone. Yeah, Bradley Burns is on a mission here, doing a fantastic job. I do just want to mention Adam Watson again, who is one of the drivers that I really felt for last week when the issues we saw. Kieran Chung turns it into a monster truck over the final curb. He thinks, oh, I'll enter the Red Bull X Games, watch this. But McNally thinks, right, well, you're damaging the floor of that Audi. I'll just go and get by, yeah? Is that all right? Thank you. Or I, as he would say. We've got Adam Watson, though, 10th at the moment. He was second overall in the endurance race at Daytona before it got abandoned, and I really felt for him in that one. Here we go. We're about to go space shuttle status here with Kieran Chung. About to show you just how powerful that inside curb is. Bang! Look at that. That's not how you maintain your Audi. And you can see that he knows that McNally's got the run, so he goes wide, hoping to get a good run down the straight there. It's quite wise stuff, and quick thinking, to be honest, because when you've had a moment like that, it does sort of it knocks your head off a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, it does make you just get a little bit flustered, maybe is the word that I would use, but he's kept back up and running. Now the car on the front doesn't actually look too bad. It's the underneath of it which will be really bad. Meanwhile, Bradley Burns on his recovery drive. Oh, looking to the inside. That's Matt Woodhouse in front of us for Team Mad. And you can look at those lap times. Bradley Burns, you can tell he's out of position here with how much quicker he is from these drivers around him. Oh yeah, for sure. Bradley has got this Ferrari hooked up. You were saying before, Paul, just how good this car is around here. And Bradley is really on a mission. Look at that. He was going to just go down the inside. He thought against it, and then when he realised how much later he was on the brakes, he thought, oh, stuff it, I'm going to go for it then. Through he goes. Great exit out of the left-right, and he's going to start making his way now up towards the next car in line, which, well, last time round he had to get past Mike Horder, but he's already done that, I think. No, Mike Horder is the car. It's just changed on the sectors there. So, yeah, Mike Horder is the next car in line. Evdoka and McClay, they're battling it out through the arena section. So McClay, he's got the bit between his teeth. We're into the final 5 minutes of this race already. Great stuff from throughout your field. And it is McClay then that we're on board with, heading down, as I mentioned, to this left-hander. Key to get the car over as left as possible. Now you see Evdoka got the car over a little bit further than McClay, and that just gave him the better run out of that right-hander. Yeah, it's a very interesting part of the circuit, that, because you've got the camber helps you, and even here at the hairpin at the bottom of the hill as well. The camber comes towards you at both corners, but there's a really horrible transition period of when you're trying to get the car settled again, get it on the power and then back onto the brakes, while also trying to get the weight transferred left to right. It's a real pain in the backside because it's over a crest at the same time, so it's like a roller coaster where it just twists from one corner to the next. But George McClay, he looks quicker here than Evdoka, but Evdoka's just playing the smart game. He's not over defending, he's just focusing on getting that run out of the corner, because he realises at the end of the day, as long as he can open up that gap just on the exit a little bit, McClay's got to work a bit harder to try and go after him, and he just quite can't get it as settled on the exit as Evdoka can. But this is a fantastic battle here of just who's going to blink first. Yep, so Evdoka, McClay, the top three are still as they were. Arana, Thompson and Sarika in that order as they head on down the pit straight, but they've all spread out a little bit. Sarika actually not keeping with the top two. He's 2 seconds off of Thompson, so he's struggling to keep with them. Or maybe being tactical with it as they go through the arena section once again. 2.5 minutes, so I would imagine that we're going to get one more lap after this one, and then we'll be good to go for the end. Chris Wood and Paulo Munoz. Munoz has made it ahead of Wood into turn number 1. That Ferrari, as I mentioned, looking really good here at the circuit, and Wood, there's not a lot they can do to defend that one.
No, not really. Like you say, the Ferrari is the car to be in around here at the moment by the look of it. I was talking to the Team Lizard Motorsport guys before tonight, and they were saying finally a track where the Ferrari feels like it's better than the other cars, but we've seen it is one of the cars to be in other than the BMW this season. We are on board now with Chris Wood in the Team Mad McLaren. You can see Paulo just has that extra run off the corner. I believe just ahead of him, that's Ethan Bass in 11th place.
Yeah.
Ethan was a bit annoyed at me during the week because I said that he'd raced on a controller for a season, but it was just one media night, he said to me. It was one media night that he raced on a controller because his wheel died. So I apologise, Ethan. But he's doing a great job here, and to be honest, if you jack Styles right now, Paul, or Sam Fitzpatrick at Fitzdyke, you'll be very pleased because you've got drivers 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, sorry, 5th, 6th, 7th, and then 11th in the form of Ethan Bass. So not a bad showing at all by those guys tonight.
And of course it was Ethan Bass who got brought into the main outfit once Jack wasn't able to compete in this season. So Ethan doing a very good job. He was always involved with the team. It's just that he actually got it into a position where it's a points-paying driver. But look at this run through the chicane, Munoz. Fantastic stuff all the way up to the back of Bass in front. I imagine this is going to be a move into turn number 1, or even before then.
Yeah, he's got a fantastic run. He's in the slipstream. He doesn't need too much of it here. As long as he's got the car on the inside, he's going to be in the box seat for whatever they can do on the exit. Onto the brakes he goes, nice and tucked in. Fantastic stuff, but Bass gets the run on the exit. He's going to be back down the inside of Paulo now. Ethan's never say die attitude coming right into play here. Into turn 3 on the brakes again, a little bit later from Ethan, keeps it settled, keeps it to the curb, but now Paulo's going to be the one on the right hand side and the inside for the next corner, but Ethan's going to have the pace on the exit again. He's got that run, now he's going to be on the inside again. This is a fantastic game of just, it's like motorsport chess right now. No, it's my go, your go, my go. Paulo around the outside carries the speed.
And here comes Chris Wood.
Yeah, surely Paulo's got that done, and yeah, the door is open, like you say, Paul. Ethan now has to watch in his mirrors as well, because behind them as well is Christian Rose, and you know what he's like for getting these moves done and scoring points.
Well, it is the final lap, just the final lap and half a lap for these 4 together as they're heading on uphill towards the end of this one. So Munoz to the front of that field, but at the front of your field, what a drive by these 3 Williams drivers. They're imperious up at the front. They're already showboating Alex Arana. He's had a bit of a nightmare at Monza. Josh Thompson has had a bit of a nightmare this season as well with internet connections, but coming out the final corner, and it's going to be a win for Alex Arana. 2nd place for Josh Thompson, and Moreno Sarica 3rd place across the line for the Williams Esports team. Tremendous effort from those drivers. Jake Blackall coming out the final corner now as well. He's going to be your best placed Pro-Am. And did Lewis Bibby get passed by Harold Stadler on that last lap? I think he did. Munoz, meanwhile, he comes across the line, and who finished behind him? Well, it was Bass in the end. Wood was able to just stay ahead of Christian Rose. Further down, Dean Powell is your winning amateur driver as well. So plenty of action, and still action going on here. Byram and Daniel Lee, the recovering Daniel Lee after that lap 1, turn 1 incident. They come across the line, so battling all the way through your field. It's not just at the front, it's not just in the mid-pack, it's all the way through to the back of the pack, as Cameron Dance is going for a bit of rally crossing.
Yeah, Cam dropped right down. He's in 38th place at the moment, Paul, and that's going to be 39th. He's blinking in and out. That looks like something's gone wrong there on a technical level. Yeah. Something's definitely gone down there for him, because we've seen that Cam's quick, and I mean, he's been caught up in a few incidents when we've seen him, but yeah, he's certainly had some sort of issue there, because he was just trying to get back in the pit lane. This is Sean Gardner, just crossing the line to finish 40th. And Steve Burke, very strange, he was 39th. Now, Steve was making up places earlier on, so I'm not quite sure what happened to him. I think he got involved in a bit of contact at turn 1 earlier. Not sure whether anything else reoccurred, but there are your results. And once again, Paul, well, if you're a Williams car or a Pure Sims car or a Fitstyle car, again, you'll be pretty happy with that.
Absolutely. So it is a Williams 1, 2, 3. Alex Arana, Josh Thompson, and Marino Sarika first, second, and third at the top of your standings. And Michael Abdoka fourth, just staying ahead of George McClay. So Pure Sims just ahead of the TechSense Fitstyle Motorsports car. Harold Stadler then for Renvale Fitstyle Motorsports in 6th place ahead of Lewis Bibby. Jack Blackall in top of your Pro-Ams in 8th place ahead of Ross McFarlane, who started down in 12th, so good start for him. And then Adam Watson, the only car that isn't a Williams Pure Sims or Fitstyle car in the top 10. Further down then, Paulo Munoz, who we saw have that incredible battle with Ethan Bass, with Chris Wood and Christian Rose over 11th, 12th, 13th to 14th. Michael Gray, he doesn't fade to grey, he is Michael Gray in 15th place ahead of Dean Powell. Ben Gregory, the independent, in 17th ahead of Pete Newman, who just avoided the incident at turn 1. Morgan Butler, one of your Pro-Ams. So Dean Powell is your top Pro-Am, second place for Morgan Butler. And Bradley Burns, a recovery drive to 20th place. Mohammed Janko for Vulcan Sim Racing, 21st ahead of Matt Woodhouse. Adam Nally, not the best of days for him, down in 23rd. Kieran Chung and Mike Horder. Lars van Rijn ahead of James Whitehouse. Simon Underhill, who caused the shenanigans at turn number 1 on lap 1. He's there in 28th ahead of Adam Hedgecock and Chris Byram. Still the positions come. Daniel Lee, 31st ahead of Stephen McCaffrey. Pete Harrod, who we saw losing it at the Schumacher race, ahead of Alex Nella in the Ford. Matt Draycott, 35th ahead of Tom Jacobs. Gavin Baker, now this is where our graphics have just messed up a little bit. So it is 37th is going to be Simon Field ahead of Steve Burke in 38th. Sean Gardner 39th and Cam Dance in 40th is classified as 40th as Cam Dance. So the graphics have just messed up a little bit. There you go. 41st then was Gavin Baker with John Roberts 1 lap down, and 9 laps down after the lap 1 instant. Carl Moore all the way down in 43rd. So that's the first of 3 sprint races here. And of course, Chaz Draycott, who's in the commentary booth with me, as always, with this championship. Well, that's only race 1. We've got 2 more races to go, and that means we get to spin the wheel.
Yes, we do. One of the most exciting parts of the night for us. We trust us, guys, as broadcasters and commentators. We love this sort of thing. It's fantastic. And, well, it just means that the reverse grids, they make these races all the more exciting. There was fantastic stuff in that first one. Battles all over the place, and a lot of clean battling as well. That was the main thing, that there was no real silly moves or anything. A lot of respect given. But let's see what we're going to get here then. That's looking like a 14 to me. Paul, what do you think?
I don't know. It's still got a little bit of momentum. It could tick over to 16. Don't say we're going to have enough one of these where I have to get the slide rule out. No, it's going to be 16. So 16th place is going to be on pole position. And, wow, would you believe it? The history of us drawing out amateur drivers for pole position is unbelievable. But Dean Powell, pole position, with Michael Gray second and Christian Rose. What about a good bit of fortune for him? The pro driver, he's the top pro driver in the grid. 3rd place on the grid for Christian.
Yeah, he's going to need that as well, because, I mean, 14th place wasn't really what we've come to expect from him this season. So this is his chance now to try and take a win. But we've seen Michael Gray, he's had some fantastic stuff so far. The pace and the consistency that Michael has shown before when he's at the front of these races is quite impenetrable. So I'm interested to see what Dean can do holding these guys back. Chris Wood, Ethan Bass, Paulo Munoz, Adam Watson behind them. It's just, I mean, the quality gets better and better from all the guys that are behind them. So it's going to be an interesting one for Dean, and it's a good chance for him to gain a lot of points on the likes of Morgan Butler, Kieran Chung, and the other amateur drivers that finished behind him in that race.
So that is race 1. We've got the grid set for race 2. All we need to do is get a race. So why not join us after this quick break when we'll bring you all the action for the World GT Championship Season 8 Meeting 6, the halfway point of the championship from the Nurburgring. Stick around.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic, real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. Here's the starting lineup. On the pole from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9 Coors Ford qualifying and Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as
Sometimes I'd like to be alone in my own mind. I feel at home within these walls. I fear my own absence of association.
We are back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. And just as the field comes all around turn number 4, the sunshine peeks through, helping warm things here. Bill Elliott leads him down. Benny Parsons on the outside. The green flag flies, and the first Union 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. Oh, here we go. It's just about to go away. They both coming out of turn 4. Earnhardt gets the lead. We had just heard from our spotters that Neil Lyons. Is on his last lap. This will be his 24th career win. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 at North Wilkesboro.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was always fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos or danger until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all will be kept in the pits. Not to mention that with members in over 130 countries already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series and work your way up to one of 7 world championships, offering over $500,000 in prize money. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Welcome back then to the World GT Championship Season 8 Meeting 6 here at the Nurburgring. And well, after an interesting first race of the evening, we've got the first reverse draw out the way. 16 was the number drawn, so that means that we're going to have an amateur on pole position, which should be absolutely fun to see. Chaz Draycott is alongside me as always here on the broadcast, and Chaz, race 2, this is where you get a bit more shenanigans happen with some of the faster drivers coming through, but 16 is not the biggest of draws that we can have here, so it shouldn't be as bad for those Williams drivers and for the Pure Sim drivers as well.
Yeah, this is the thing with these race meetings. It's not just qualify on pole, drive away, night's done. It's qualify on pole, drive away, get put right in the middle of the field and need to really show your skill and show your patience and your talent to make your way through the order without incident and try and survive. We've seen in the case of Alex Arana at Monza, it's not always your own fault when you get caught up in these incidents. Sometimes they happen in front of you, sometimes they just happen around you. And I think that we may see a little bit of that in this race, but I like the word shenanigans, so I think we can both stick with that one because that's kind of what we can expect here. But I have to say, great racing in that first race. It was very clean, very respectful from everybody involved, and I'm really hoping that we see more of the same again. There was that tiny incident at the start, but we got away with that one.
Yeah, it was an absolute gargantuan effort from the rest of the field to be able to work through. You can see the track conditions up on screen, so the track temperature has increased. But right now, let's quickly run you through your grid. It's not going to be the slowest of grids, so it's going to be Dean Powell, pole position ahead of Michael Gray, Christian Russ, third ahead of Chris Wood, Ethan Bass, Paula Munoz with Adam Watson, Ross McFarlane in 8th place. Row number 5 is Jake Blackall with Lewis Bibby, Harold Stadler and George McClay. Round at row 6. Row 7 is Michael Avdoka with Morena Sarika, Josh Thompson and race 1 winner Alex Arana in 16th place. Ben Gregory, Pete Newman ahead of Morgan Butler. Bradley Burns, he'll be on for another recovery drive, I feel, from 20th. Mohamed Janko, Matt Woodhouse with Adam McNally, Kieran Chung. Then Mike Horder, Lars Van Rijn, James Whitehouse, Simon Underhill. Can see why we have to get through this as quickly as possible. Adam Hedgecock ahead of Chris Byram in 30th. Daniel Lee, Steve McCaffrey with Harrod, Nella, Matt Draycott and Tom Jacobs. Simon Field, Steve Burke, Sean Gardner, Cam Dance has made it to this race. Gavin Baker, John Roberts and Carl Moore round out your 43 car grid. But we're all set then for race number 2 of the evening. This is going to be an interesting one. Pole position for Dean Powell. Seeing that he's not a place that he's not used to here on the starting grid, and it'll be interesting to see how the amateur driver gets on. And he's already going, in fact. He's not even made it to the final corner, and he's got onto the gas, and he is pulling away from the start. Green flag will be in the air. There you go. We've got battling for 3rd place as well. Look at Michael Gray looking to the inside for the lead into turn number 1.
Oh.
They both outbrake themselves, and here comes Christian Rose with the comeback. Contact between the two of them, and Rose, amazingly, is still in 3rd place. They head on through the first part of the arena section into the second part. Now it's going to be down the inside, one of the mad drivers. That's Chris Wood to the outside. They'll try and carry the speed. We've got Sarika and Thompson are both around the 2 Williams Esports drivers. Don't say they've had a contact, but out from Michael Gray, what a start to this race.
Yeah, Michael knew straight away he had to get on this one and make it count. While it was the start of the race, Christian Rose has just gone wide in the background and Chris Wood has gone past him. So too has Ethan Bass, and Christian needs to do exactly what Michael's done and get on with it and get out there as soon as possible and try and build up a lead. He's got his teammate Ross McFarlane now just behind him. Paolo Munoz is in there as well. Adam Watson, I believe, is that... I'm just trying to see which of the... I think it might even be George McLean. No, it's Lewis Bibby, the 313 TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport car. But yes, Josh Thompson and Moreno Sarica both around. Oh, one of the SimSports USA cars is off. That's Adam Watson. One of the BMWs was off as well. I believe that may have been Jake Blackhall that went off.
It was.
He's just going back on. You can see him limping back onto the circuit now. Like trying to get a cat in the bath, that. He's not going to be able to get into the field there. That's going to be an absolute nightmare.
We'll try and get a replay of all of this once we've calmed down a little bit, but Ross McFarlane looking all over the back of Christian Rose here. He's got Paulo Munoz also under pressure with Lewis Bibby down the inside. So Bibby up into 7th place ahead of Munoz. Across the line for the first time, it is Michael Gray in the lead. Dean Powell second ahead of Chris Wood. Ethan Bass, Christian Rose, Ross McFarlane, Bibby, Munoz, Stadler and Arana. So Alex Arana, the race 1 winner, moving up into 9th place down the inside.
Yeah, Bibby's a real dark horse in this for me, you know. Bibby's always been quick in the series that I've seen him in. He's raced in a lot of championships that I've been in as well, and some that I've even hosted, and he's always been fast. So Lewis is definitely one to watch. He's on the back of McFarlane at the moment, and then Christian Rose, but he's got Paulo Munoz there, of course, stablemate to the 2 cars in front of him in there as well. And here is, as promised, replay of the start then. This is John Thompson that we're looking at in the black Williams eSports car, just ahead of his teammate Alex Arana. You can see Moreno Sarica side by side with Michael Avdoka. Arana goes in very deep on the brakes, gets it stopped well. So you've got Thompson following Sarica. I'm wondering whether Avdoka might have something to do with this, because he's in there as well, or maybe is Arana going to get 2 for 1 here, Paul? Let's have a look. Thompson's in the middle. Oh, Thompson into Sarica. Yeah, and Thompson holds off the brakes. He knows what he's done. That was Hamilton and Rosberg at the 2016, I hope
yep,
we got that
2016
right.
Spanish Grand Prix, yes.
He'll have just put his head in his hands as he stops and thought, well, there's no point waiting now, I may as well get on with it. That's a real shame. But it happens. At the end of the day, we say don't hit your teammate, and people say that because they know it happens. But look at the speed Josh is carrying here in this run back up the order. He is now on the back of, I believe that to be...
Well, it's Alex Nella now, because he's made his way past Chris Byram. So change of position for them. Jake Blackhall is further down your order, down in 39th after his shenanigans on lap 1 as well. So all sorts happening here. Don't forget racespot.tv/timing2 to keep up to date with everything that's happening in this particular race. It's Ethan Bass and Chris Wood, but look behind, because Christian Rose is there. So too is Ross McFarlane. There's Alex Arana as well. Down the inside. Arana, demon on the brakes there. He's trying to make the most of his teammates having issues. Oh, wide he goes. That's going to let the inside open, maybe. No, he's going to hold on to that position, but Harold Sadler was waiting for the opportunity.
I think that was just Lewis Bibby had a bit of a wobble, and there was a tiny touch, and Arana had to really save it. But there you can see he did win race 1, that is correct. The car 888 P8 at the moment, he's trying to get past the TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport car. Like I said though, Lewis Bibby, he's very quick, but we know just how good Alex Arana is, and he wants to get right up there and gain as many points in this championship as he can. But at the front, Michael Gray doing a great job. Dean Powell still in 2nd place. And to be honest, I'm very, very pleased with Dean, because I thought this was going to be a tough one. Chris Wood is actually holding up some of these guys a little bit here. He's still in 3rd place. They're not right behind him. It's Ethan Bass, Christian Rose and Ross McFarlane, but he is the one that's bridging that gap at the moment. But still, good points for him. He's 2nd in Pro-Am. The highest pro driver is actually Christian Rose at the moment. And this is Arana. He's having to defend now from Harold Stadler and then George McClay, who nearly made contact. I think there might have been a bit of a rub of the splitter there. And in there, trying to get past those guys, is Michael Avdoka, who of course finished 4th in race 1. We're on board with Michael now in the Pure Sims OBP Ferrari. And it's the 3 Ferraris trying to gang up on the BMW here. But this is some of the quickest drivers in the series altogether. Harold Stadler's another one that's quite under the radar. He's another one as well that I've seen in series that I've hosted and raced in, and he is also very quick as the Austrian. But this is a fantastic train at the moment, Paul. And once again, as we're already a quarter of the way through the race, another reason for us to fall in love with the World GT Championship.
Yeah, always tremendous excitement and drama happens in this championship as they head on down to turn number 1, and he looks, well, McClay having a look on his teammate and making contact between the two of them. Well, they're not exactly teammates, even though they're in the same stable, but down the inside of McClay then really made his move and made it stick, and it's behind Bradley Burns as well, making moves on Pete Newman.
Yeah, Bradley caught Pete unawares there. Pete was probably just focusing on what was going on in front. Those two also stablemates, the Pure Sims OBP, the KRD car, and the 3M car, all from the same stable. This is Christian Rose now trying to get past the Audi of Ethan Bass, and fair play on Ethan, dragging that Audi around as well as he is doing. Some of the drivers that are in the Audi, I do sympathise with them, because I drove the Audi last season in this championship, and anyone that watched any of my streams will know that all I did was spin, like all the time. I'd be like, oh, this is going well, and then I'd have a spin and a massive accident. But they do a great job at keeping that car stable, because it can be very oversteery. But Christian now, seeing his teammate as well, Ross McFarlane, right behind in that very menacing Mercedes, as Ethan runs wide. Christian's got the run, Ethan defends the inside, but if Christian's wise here, he can be late on the brakes, round the outside. If he carries that pace, doesn't go too far off the circuit, he's going to have the inside to the right-hander. Beautifully done by Christian Rose, but I was just about to say, he now knows that he needs to get on with this, Paul, because the other guys ahead will start to get away, but Ethan's saying, not on your life.
Yeah, Ethan Bass not giving this one up then in the Audi, and we've seen that Ethan is quite a late breaker as well in that Audi, so Audi good on its brakes, and round the outside into the Vidal chicane. Here comes Ross McFarlane now. All these squabbling is allowing Arana and also Lewis Bibby to come into this one. Oh, you can throw a towel over them, you really can, because there's 5 cars all together, all covered by less than a second here as they come across the line, and who is it that's going to end out the winner?
Watch Arana on the brakes here. He's going to go to the outside now, surely. He stays in the middle, tries to get around the outside of McFarlane. Bibby's there as well. Ethan Bass loses out. Christian Rose to the front, but Ethan gets a great run off the corner in that Audi. Still manages to defend from Ross McFarlane. I'm spitting all over myself here. And then Ross McFarlane's still trying to carry that big burly Mercedes around the outside. He's going to have the inside for the next corner. We saw this in race 1 with Paulo Munoz. And Arana's thinking, get on with it, mate. Get off that apex today, please. But that Audi is really on it at the moment. Ethan Bass, what a defensive drive. I can vouch that Ethan's a great defender. McFarlane round the outside, very demanding stuff. Arana's now going to try and go down the inside. That door is definitely open. And look at him queuing up behind here, Paul. Most of them are his teammates.
Look at this, all those Fitstein cars, both the TechSense cars and the Renvale cars as well. Arana to the inside of Bibby and of Bass as well. There's still Bibby and Arana side by side as they're heading towards the Schumacher S once again, and Arana's lost the position and he may be going to lose another place here. Look at this, 2 Fitstein cars. Which way are you going to go? There's a Pure Sim car there. Oh, and there's a 3M car there for good measure as well of Bradley Burns. We've seen how good he is on the brakes as well. Burns looking alongside Harold Stadler at the back of that queue of traffic, but Ethan Bass, almost a little bit like Chris Wood was earlier, a little bit the cork in the bottle. I'll get my words out. Bob Burns looking to the inside and gets the job done.
Yeah, that was great stuff by Bradley Burns. We've seen just how quick he can be. He's instantly on the defensive. Arana now going ahead of Bass. I was going to say, as they went up through the Michael Schumacher S, to watch out for Harold Stadler. He got a great run, but then just couldn't go anywhere. Ethan Bass is getting boxed in by his teammate there. He has. I think there might have been contact maybe mid-corner. He was carrying a lot of speed into that final corner, so maybe he just overshot it and then held some of the guys up. He seems to have a different car number every race, does Bradley Burns. We'll have to have a word with him about that. Yeah. But McClay then goes through in the Ferrari. He's also passed his teammate, but Ethan Bass, very vigilant effort there from the Audi driver, from Renvale Fitstein. Down the inside goes Evdoka. You can see Ethan's just trying to play the safe game now. He knows that a lot of these guys are coming through. Janko in the background just behind Ben Gregory as well. The Vulcan sim racing driver all over the back of the BMW, gets a good exit out the corner. But he's also got some more stable mates from Renvale, from, an Underhill again, Simon. I can hear him from here.
Don't reverse onto the track there, Simon.
The mirrors are difficult to judge sometimes. I don't know if he actually realised the back of the car was on the track there, but yeah, that was, I think, Simon Field that made a little bit of contact with him as he went through in the McLaren. But such a shame for Simon. Back on board with Alex Arana. 7th place now, Lewis Bibby still ahead of him somehow. Lewis is doing a great job here. He's got Ross McFarlane then ahead of him as they go up the hill once again. 9 minutes of this race to go. Still plenty more time for this to change.
This has just been a crazy race. It really has.
Oh, yeah.
And absolutely sensational.
Oh.
Running wide there, Bibby. Oh, he's under the pressure. You can feel it. You can feel that he's under pressure. And Arana just waiting patiently, seeing the opportunities coming now. He got the better run through that left-hander. Yeah, that BMW is so quick to get to its top speed, and it shows right there.
That was disgusted from Alex Arana. He just got that run, like you say, Paul. Bibby had a bit of a compromised line out of the right-hander, which, yeah, fair enough, did hand a bit of advantage to Arana, but that was a crazy difference in speed there. And he's now got his teammate. Just to confuse us, it's the 33 and the 313 together, both in the identical cars, the Texans Fixed Time Motorsport Ferraris, but we'll figure them out one way or the other. But Arana doesn't need to worry about that now. He's up to 6th place, chasing down Ross McFarlane. This is George McClay with his identical teammate Lewis Bibby just ahead. But these two are two more, aren't they, in the championship that just keep scoring points week in, week out. And to be honest, it does get overshadowed a bit by the Williams and Pure Sims cars, but these two are doing great this series, aren't they?
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic job from these two in that Texans Fit sidecar. Don't forget the Renvale team as well. They're doing a really good job of getting the points in as well. It shows in the team's championships as they're heading through towards the Dunlop hairpin down at the bottom of the hill. And they're just trying to follow on Alex Arana. Now Arana's going to struggle a little bit because Ross McFarlane, we've seen how quick he is in that Mercedes, and he certainly it's not the best track for that Mercedes, he's admitted that, but he still can put up a real defensive display as we'll look back from Ross McFarlane.
Yeah, that was pretty strong from that Mercedes, considering that there was no one running it at the start of the season, and it has certainly come into its own. But Arana just looks so planted in that BMW, and that's one of the things with that car. I drove it in the Bathurst 12 hours earlier in the year, and it is just such a planted machine. And when it goes, trust me. But these Williams guys, they really know what they're doing with it. All the Pure Sims guys as well, the Sim Sports Racing USA team. Everyone that drives this BM just gets used to the characteristics and cracks on with it. Ross, though, doesn't look like he's defending too much here, and I think he knows that, yeah, it's just going to happen eventually, isn't it? Arana down the inside. But now he can try and hold on to the back of him. Like I said before, he needs to get the tow hook out onto the back of that BMW and just stay with him, because now they've got Christian Rose, who, interestingly, the top three haven't made any progress at all, have they, Paul? I was expecting that to change a lot. Michael Gray, 1.7 seconds clear, 1.6 seconds back to Chris Wood, and then Christian Rose, 1.4 seconds back. So they've done a good job. It was one of the P1 cars off. It's Chris Byram. Oh, it's a real shame. He's got Steve Burke down the inside now as well. His teammates just gone through. But out of the chicane, maybe a bit of contact. Let's have a little look.
So he's there battling one of the boosted car. Oh dear, Chris. No, that was never on. I mean, it was a bit of a squeeze, but still. Oh, and then contact with the number 5.
That's Jacobs.
Yeah.
I think Jacobs turned in a little bit on him there, because he had a long time to realise Byron was there. Maybe he thought that he was going to brake and get out of it before the corner, but there was 3 cars there for him to get out of the way of, so he needed to make the corner at some point. I think Jacobs just didn't quite expect that one. Turned in a little bit there, but it's easy to do in that chicane, isn't it? Because it's a scary corner when you're doing it on your own, never mind trying to do it with too wide.
Yeah, it is tricky to go too wide through there, and you almost got to rely on one of the drivers just backing out and taking a sensible pill. But then again, this is the World GT we're talking about. Sensible pills aren't handed out. Battling further forward in your field, it's sort of pretty much stagnated now a little bit at the front. Josh Thompson, how's he getting on with his recovery? He's up to that's what, 17th ahead of Morgan Butler. He's just overtaken. Marina Sirica is 22nd, just behind Daniel Lee. So the mscienceuk.com driver in 21st, and Marina Sirica. Well, if these two finish further down, they'll be wanting a big reverse grid draw to happen here. Christian Rose, Alex Arana and Chris Wood all together down the start and finish straight. It's going to be Arana to the inside, and you would imagine that Rose with the inside has got the high ground. He can get on the throttle, but Wood around the outside, kind of getting that throttle a little bit earlier. Gives you the inside for these two, although he gets wheels on the grass. That McLaren is twitchy at the best of times, and that allows Rose through.
Yeah, I was going to say, out of turn 1, if you're wondering who would get the run, I was going to say Woodward. But in all honesty there, that little wobble on the turn 2, actually just cost him that. He could have fought that quite hard with Christian Rose. We know Chris has got that pace in him, but I'm afraid not. Now he's got McFarlane, and then he's got Bibby and McClay right on the back of him now. That's like an amalgamation of supercars, that is, as it goes down the straight towards the hairpin. Onto the brakes, McFarlane pokes his nose down the inside, pries the door open, uses the front of that Mercedes almost like a crowbar to unsettle the McLaren. Now they're side by side up to the Schumacher S. We saw Pete Harrod have issues here in race 1. No such issues for McFarlane. He turns in, and now very close to contact between McClay and Chris Wood. I think that did actually have a bit of a touch. It was, yes, sorry, it was Bibby, you're right. 3s and 3s and 3s and so on. Confusing me there, even from distance. But yeah, Chris Wood, I think there was a tiny touch and a little bit of a wobble there, and it just unsettled the car up the hill. Here we go again, Paul.
Yeah, so we'll have a look from on board then. Lewis Bibby, you'll see Chris Wood get unsettled through the left of the Schumacher S. He's there on the left, he gets unsettled there, and that just slows him down. Oh, well held. I will say, well held, Chris Wood there.
Pete Harrod would have been proud of that one, I tell you what. That was a right moment there. That's a pretty scary one. This is Pete Newman, who was chasing Mohamed Janko. Oh, he's had his own moment there. His teammate just sneaks out the way, does Bradley Burns. We found the issue with the number, by the way. It was posted in the Discord a moment ago. Bradley Burns and Carl Moore both have the number 6 assigned to them. So whichever one signs into the session first will get the number, and the other one will get given a random number. So we'll let them sort that out.
If you're Dean Powell, you were wishing that you would have just gone across for the checkered flag right now, because look who's behind him. And has closed up fast, and we'll be able to see what the comparison is lap time wise. Look at that! 9/10 of a second was close enough to being a second, and then 1.3 and 1.5 seconds quicker Alex Arana. I think if you're Dean Powell, you try and defend, but not overly so.
Yeah, don't forget everybody that positions overall are what you get scored on in this championship, not positions in class. So he will lose a couple of points if he loses this position, but his next challenger in the AM class is Morgan Butler down in 17th place. So surely he's just going to think, right, I've got a bit of a gap back to Christian Rose after Alex Arana. Maybe I've been able to stay away from Christian Rose so far. I'll just let Arana go. He doesn't give him all the room in the world. Arana somehow finds a gap. He just thinks better of it, does Dean Powell. Nice stuff by Arana, up into second place, but I think Paul's just popped a kidney there, haven't you, mate?
I think Arana was taking the Ayrton Senna approach, which was, I'm going to put my nose there, and you've got to decide whether we have an accident or not.
Yes,
and
definitely.
That's exactly what he did. He's got less than a minute to catch up 1.8 seconds. Now, that's the question. Let's have a look at this. The lap times, I don't think he will.
Ooh. You've got to hope now Michael Gray does not cave under the pressure. I was saying before how consistent he can be and how good he is at soaking up pressure. There's been the odd moment here and there where he's been fortunate from a reverse grid and not held it, but 9 times out of 10 he will. So we'll have to see. This is Janko with Bradley Burns, the ever-rising Bradley Burns. He just seems to constantly be floating to the top of the order in these races, doesn't he?
Well, after the issue that he had in race 1, he needs to be moving forward and progressing. Into turn 1! Oh, he nearly got it on his head, that's for sure. As almost getting into the back of Janko, but did well to woe it up in time and get that slowed down for that one. Just to keep you up to date, Michael Gray is your overall leader, and he's the lead in Pro-Am. Alex Arana is the lead in Pro, and Dean Powell is your leading amateur. 1, 2 and 3, so that tells you what the standings are. But we are on the final lap of the race right now as these drivers move their way through towards the end here. How's Arana doing? You can see the different line that Michael Gray takes. He V's off the Dunlop hairpin, heading uphill. Arana, he needs the mother and father of all laps here to try and get the win here. And look at that, he is gaining and gaining and gaining. He could go for the win here. Great. Keep it together and you've got yourself a Pro-Am win as well as the overall win.
you might give him a bit of sympathy because he's got purple wheels, and Alex is clearly a fan of the purple with the that being the colour of his car, but he's still chasing him down towards the final chicane. Not sure whether he could do this unless it's a late dive into the final corner here, Paul.
Well, Gray, I don't know why he was keeping it to the left there, but he did right. Coming back onto the line. Look at the run that Arana gets almost into the back. Almost contact between the two of them. Can he get the cutback? Gray's holding it on the apex. He's not letting him get the run. And Michael Gray is going to take the win here in the second race. Alex Arana, the graphic broken again. There we go. Michael Gray, your race winner for XVR Sim Racing. Well done, but what an effort from Alex Arana to try and come through. There's still battling going on further down. James Whitehouse, Adam McNally and Pete Harrod are all battling it out for 24th, 25th, 26th. And just behind them as well, Adam Hedgecock is leading up a group which includes Jake Blackall, Tom Jacobs and Paulo Munoz as they come across the line right now. And Sean Gardner is putting pressure on his teammate John Roberts, but they'll stay as they are because they are teammates and they won't want to cause themselves any issues. But there you go, Chaz. Race winner, Michael Gray.
That was a hell of a defensive effort at the end there. He really chucked everything at that, and Arana was really trying as well. That was brilliant stuff. Nice and respectful still, maybe a bit of contact. But Dean Powell, third place overall. That's a fantastic performance, that, for an AM, in all honesty, because we've seen it before, where an AM driver will start near the front of the grid and they'll sink like a stone, or they'll get caught up in a bit of an incident part way through a race, just trying to defend from a pro driver. But Dean Powell, third overall. Next AM driver down, like I said before, was Morgan Butler, who actually in the end finished 18th. So that's a really good haul of points for the msignsuk.com driver.
Well, there is the results up on screen then. Just 0.1 of a second across the line between Michael Gray and Alex Arana. Dean Powell, as you say, top amateur, finishing in third place ahead of Christian Rose. Ross McFarlane, George McClay, Lewis Bibby, Michael Evdoka, they were all battling it out throughout that race. Chris Wood, he was third for quite a while, dropped down to 9th place in the end, ahead of Harold Stadler in 10th place. 11th for Ethan Bass ahead of Ben Gregory. Josh Thompson recovering to 13th after making contact with his teammate in the arena on lap 1. Mohamed Janko ahead of Bradley Burns. He was able to hold on to that position ahead of Bradley, so well done to Mohamed. Mark Woodhouse of Team Mad in 16th ahead of Matt Woodhouse in the Paceworks eSport Cobalt car. Morgan Butler, the second place amateur, in 18th. And then Morena Sarica, championship leader, down in 19th ahead of Mike Horder in 20th place. Daniel Lee for the msignsuk.com team 21st ahead of Alex Nella. Pete Newman on a bit of a solid Monday evening run here in 23rd ahead of James Whitehouse. Adam McNally, Pete Harrod, who's having a bit of a recovery drive after race 1. Carl Moore, again, another driver trying to recover some positions from race 1, down in 27th. Adam Hedgecock, Jake Blackall, who we saw have an incident on that race, ahead of Tom Jacobs in 30th. Paulo Munoz ahead of Steve Burke, with Chris Byram, who we saw off the track, doing a bit of grass cracking. Gavin Baker ahead of Laz Van Rijn. Simon Underhill, Josh Roberts. Sean Gardner ahead of Matt Draycott, and Steve McCaffrey down in 40th place. And then drivers 3 laps down or more. Simon Field, Kieran Chung, and Cameron Dance there at the back. I believe he didn't even take the start of the race, but Chaz, we've got to get our breath back here, because that was some sensational racing, and we've got another race to come yet.
That's what I'm scared of. I don't know if I'll be able to cope. I've got an alcoholic drink right here because I'm going to need it after this night, but just because it's so enjoyable. And I've said it all along, this championship, I've been biased in the past because I've been an admin of the series and racing it since the second season, but my god, this is fantastic racing we're seeing here. And the level of competition just gets higher and higher every season, and unlike some series, we've seen it in the past, admittedly. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into Season 6, but we've had it before where, I think it might have been Season 5 actually, but sometimes when you bring in these really high-class drivers, like we've got the Williams Esports guys, the Pure Sims team has developed massively from CQR Club into this now. It's been incredible. sometimes there's a bit of ego comes with that, and it gets a bit feisty, and it sometimes gets a bit messy when they're trying to make their way through the order. None of that this season. It's been phenomenal. It really has been phenomenal. The level of which even the Pro-Ams and the Am drivers are at as well. It's such a level playing field. I can't believe it. It's just amazing. And the cars. Go back a few seasons to the McLaren and the BMW, they'd have been nowhere. But iRacing have done a great job to make sure the balance of performance helps these older cars be right up there as well. There's a couple of Mercedes. It's not just a Mercedes fest like we used to see. I'm not. Can you tell I'm excited? It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy for the admin. For the admins as well, because I know that they've had a tough time in the past sorting this series out to get to a level where they try and please everybody, and obviously from being behind the scenes in that as well. And it really is great how this series has come on, and it's a pleasure to commentate on. Really is.
Well, if you're excited, we're going to get excited even more now, because it is the reverse grid wheel that we're going to see right now. So we'll see what that lands on here, Chaz, to see what position we are going to be reversing the final grid of the evening. And as it slows down, don't say it's going to be 16 again. Oh, it's not. Is it going to be 20? That could be an interesting one, because that would be Mike Horder if it is. And it is going to be Mike Horder on pole position, the Pro-Am.
But
second place, and that is crucial here. Moreno Sarica.
Morgan Butler as well, third place in Am. Now, he finished that race 18th. I know I'm his biggest fan at the minute, but he finished 18th in that race. Hear me out. Dean Powell finished third. He's going to get loads of points off him, as I said, in the Am Championship. This is Morgan's chance to reverse that now. Dean Powell's going to be way down there in 18th position. Morgan just needs to keep his head here and stay near the front. And the next Am after that is going to be James Whitehouse down in 24th. So, again, this could easily get reversed here. And this is the beauties of these evenings. We've seen it before in some real series where you get reverse grids and things. I mean, BTCC does it in their third race of the night. Not twice in one night like this does. This is phenomenal stuff. But it just writes a great story over the night, how someone can have a brilliant race one, have an issue in race two, and come back for race three, or vice versa, you know. I think we're going to see more exciting action, some great battles. But I'm going to keep an eye on that Am Championship here, because that can get very feisty between these guys.
It certainly could indeed, but that's going to be coming up very shortly, right after the break here. So make sure you stick around, because we've got one more final race coming up, and this could be a really good one indeed. So make sure you stick around for the final race of the evening. It's the final race of the evening here in the World GT Championship Season 8, Meeting 6. We're at the halfway point of the championship and we're here at the Nurburgring for one final time this evening. Let's bring up the track conditions, and you'll see the clouds have come over here. It's overcast, and what's more, track temperature is now a rather chilly 22 degrees compared to the 34 degrees they had in that last race. A 12 degrees reduction in track temperature. That will make things a little bit more difficult for the drivers out there. My name is Paul Smith. Alongside me, as always, is Chaz Draycott on commentary. And Chaz, after the excitement of the last race, we've got one final race to come here tonight, and this one should be pretty much the encore.
Yeah, if not the main event. I mean, it's just been a fantastic night all round. We had a really nice and clean race 1, barring the incident at the very start. Race 2 just came alive with those battles. There was so many drivers that you wouldn't normally pitch together, hence the beauty of the reverse grids. And they were defending well. You know, the guys that were near the front were defending really well from some of the pro drivers coming through. So it was really interesting to watch. You didn't know what was going to happen from one corner to the next. We saw a great battle at the end from Alex Arana and Michael Gray, who took a very deserving win there, I must say. He did all that he needed to do in that race. Got the job done early on, like I said at the start, and ran away. And it was a phenomenal performance. In this one, I don't even know who we're going to call. Interesting little development, though. Morgan Butler, before this session, has selected the wrong car. So we will not see Morgan Butler on the grid, I'm afraid. So what I was saying about those championship points he was going to claw back, commentator's curse doesn't just work when the cars are on the road. Let me tell you that, everybody.
Yeah, certainly. So a big mistake from Morgan to be missing out this final race. He's going to be missing out on a chunk of time, a chunk of points as well. But we'll come to the grid then for the final time this evening when my graphics actually work on screen. There we go. Mike Horder is going to be on pole position ahead of Moreno Sirica in second place. No Morgan Butler, as we say, who would have been in third ahead of Adam Watson. Matt Woodhouse ahead of Bradley Burns, Mohammed Janko and Josh Thompson in 8th place. Ben Gregory, Ethan Bass round out the top 10. Harold Sadler, Chris Wood. Michael Avdoka, Lewis Bibby with George McClay, Ross McFarlane, Christian Rose, Dean Powell and Alex Arana 19th ahead of Michael Gray in 20th place. Daniel Lee 21st ahead of Alex Nella in the Boosted Sports car. Pete Newman ahead of James Whitehouse. McNally and Harrod ahead of Moore and Hedgecock. Blackall and Tom Jacobs, your 30th place. Palamunos and Steve Burke. Chris Byron, Gavin Baker, Lars Van Rijn, Simon Underhill, who's had a bit of a nightmare this round so far. John Roberts ahead of Sean Gardner with Matt Draycott and Steve McAfee. Simon Field, Kieran Chung and Cam Dance rounding out your now 42 car grid. But here we are, drivers already on the way, pacing, getting the tyres warmed up, and if you are Matt Woodhouse, you'll be saying thank you very much, Morgan Butler, because you've just moved me up one row.
Indeed, and Adam Watson up there as well. He's going to be chuffed with that. So these guys at the front are going to get this alive, but keep your eye on Moreno Sirica in the White Williams car, Paul.
Well, Horder tried to go early before the corner, but he's on the inside, and that compromises his line out the corner. The green flag is going to be in the air.
Oh, heck.
Away we go, and Horder is slow. What on earth has happened to Mike Horder? Down towards turn number 1. Who's it going to be for the lead? Well, it's going to be Sirica. Oh, they all missed the braking zone. It's cold weather here. It's cold, and these drivers, cold tyres, are struggling to make their way down through turn number 1 and 2. But they are still all going, which is really good. Now, look at this, Horder trying to get back up to second place. I thought he'd drop back to 5th.
That was Adam Watson there. Horder's taking advantage of that. But my one guess there, Paul, was that a lot of the time on iRacing, you have to be behind the safety car until it goes into the pit lane. And the line, as it goes into the pit lane, is quite far down here. I think Horder's gone a bit early.
Sirica!
Oh, Sirica! Sirica's gone off on the right-hander, and Horder and Watson are going to fly past him. But I think Horder went a little bit early there and might have got a penalty, so he held back because he thought, oh, damn it, I may as well get out of the way. But then he thought, well, I may as well save myself a bit of time and get on with it. We'll have to wait and see, but Sarika there, that's a very pivotal moment in the race.
These drivers, you can tell that they've been used to it being hotter track conditions, because they are struggling, they're slipping and sliding here on the opening lap. Each and every corner, each and every braking zone that they get to will improve as they go along, but it'll take a little bit longer for their tyres to come in and to feel good. But out towards the Vidal chicane for the first time on this lap, Adam Watson, we saw how good he was last week until they had to abandon the race. He's going for it. We know how good the brakes are on the Audi as well. He's trying to get the lead, but Sarika now putting the pressure on Watson as we've got an accident further back. It's Michael Gray and also Daniel Lee.
Yeah, that's massive damage to Michael Gray's car. Daniel Lee as well was bouncing along the barriers as he got out of that one. Let's have a quick look back here. So they're side by side out of the right-hander. Something tells me we're going to see a little bit of contact here as they go through the next fast right. So you've got Michael Gray onto the back of Daniel Lee. He's going to go over to the left.
He's come back across.
Yeah, that was a massive hit side on there for Michael Gray. That's a real shame because that's the worst possible result he could have after the race win in race 2, but it was just as he came over to the right a little bit, Daniel Lee straightened up his line.
What's happened to Sarika? He's been in the pits.
I think,
he must have had a penalty.
Yeah, I think he might have got one as well as Horder, or maybe because Horder held back, he might have overtaken him before the start-finish line. What do you reckon?
Well, drama in this race. So Sarika's down in 34th right now, and it's Adam Watson putting the pressure on, but look who's in 3rd place right now. It's Josh Thompson, but it's got Bradley Burns. We've seen how quick Burns has been all evening, and he's got an opportunity of getting a really good result here for the 3M team.
He does indeed, and he's had a fantastic night so far, like you say. He's been taking everybody's race numbers. He's got Kieran Chung's number in this race as well. But he's doing a good job of impersonating him. I'm sure he'll be very pleased with that. But yeah, Josh Thompson now on the back of Adam Watson. We know Adam's fast. Those two. This is quite an interesting little bit of redemption for Thompson and Watson, because the pair of them were 1 and 2 at Daytona before the race got abandoned, weren't they? Thompson was leading it by about 26 seconds. And Watson is just saying, you go through, mate. You go after Mike Horder. Reigning Pro-Am champion Mike Horder and current championship leader. But look at the pace that Josh carries through there. He's got plenty of time to think about this. 16 minutes of the race left. He knows he's got the pace. And Bradley Burns, I must say, was very close to that pit wall there around the final corner. I'm not sure whether he might have just clipped that, but this is Josh Thompson then down the straight. He's not quite won the race yet, but Mike Horder, just in front of him then. Josh a little bit later on the brakes in the BMW, tucks it down the inside. Bradley Burns on Adam Watson as well, decides he doesn't like that bollard. There were 4 wide behind there as well.
Oh, there's contact.
Oh no, and it's Ben Gregory around. I think that's Mark Woodhouse. Oh, and he pulls in front of Chris Wood, who gets hit by Nella. Jacobs tries to miss them as well, just about does it. Ben Gregory gets going. What a bit of avoidance that was there from Lars Van Ryn. Flipping heck, that got messy, didn't it?
Well, we'll have a look at this one then. I have a funny feeling that Alex Arana is involved in all of this as well, because Alex, he had a nose on the inside. Here we go then. So Arana to the inside. Oh, he's not stopping that car. Bang! Oh. He's the one who turns around. Wood. Gregory gets involved in that one. Now Chris Wood, right in front of his teammate, and Alex Nella collecting that Team Mad car. Oh, Gregory, not the best right in front of somebody, but he has kept it going, so in fact, no, he's pulled over. After all of that, he pulled over. But Josh Thompson, 3rd place. Yeah. So he's had a mistake on this lap. We've missed that whilst we're looking at the replay. That's allowed Watson and Horder to pull away at the front.
I was going to just say then, in defence to Ben, I don't think he was probably expecting anyone to go that wide into turn 1 when he was trying to spin that round. But with the incident going on behind him, it was definitely possible that people were trying to avoid that. But Josh, I think, might have got a slowdown there, Paul. He's just pulled over to the side. Yeah,
as we were looking further back, actually, because there was close action. No, he's still going, is Josh.
He just pulled over to the right-hand side very suddenly,
he's fine.
For some reason.
He's okay. As Watson to the front, is he? This is the chance, this is the opportunity, but Horder can keep it on the power earlier. He can get on the power, try and get the run out the corner, but as we've said already, you've seen how good that Audi is on the brakes. Can he get the inside line? And Josh Thompson looking to the inside as well, thinks better of it. Here comes Arana again, as Thompson makes a little bit of side-by-side contact behind him. Arana now on Bradley Burns, and Burns is not a respecter of any reputations. He'll certainly keep on fighting as Arana looking to the inside of Horder, but it's not there, and Burns, he wants a piece of the action now.
He does. Bradley's going to be sitting back thinking, go Williams cars, you go and open the door and I'll come in there with you before it closes. Arana now down the inside of Mike Horder into the left-hander. Again, I don't think Mike's bothered about reputation either, so we've got some great fighters here. Look at that from Bradley Burns down the inside, lucky not to make contact. Horder commits to the corner. That was late from Bradley, but great avoidance by the pair of them not to make contact. Now Thompson is going to go chasing after Watson. Just behind this, Lewis Bibby, again inside that top 6. He is trying to get as many points out this evening as possible, and he's doing a fantastic job of it. He was saying his backside was all over his seat after that second race, especially with the moment with Chris Wood. That was a right focusing one. But Josh Thompson now trying to close back up to Adam Watson. Just alluding to what I was on about before, he just sort of went really far offline as he came out of the right-hander. I thought he might have just been trying to get out of the way for a slowdown, but yeah, like you say, he just stayed at full pace, so I'm not sure whether he just lost the rear or something, but he's certainly on the pace now. But Adam Watson, we've seen it this season, haven't we, Paul? I mean, we said it at the first round at Silverstone. He is no slouch at all in that Paceworks Esports Cobalt car. Neither of them are, to be honest. No, not any of the three of them. They're
no,
all
absolutely
really
not. They are really impressive in that team. And what's more, I would have to say that the Audi as well really suits Watson. He's not happy with it around here today because the track doesn't suit the car, but it is a real demon on the brakes, and we've seen Adam be really good. But here comes Thompson to the inside for the lead. He's got Alex Arana pretty close behind as well, and Adam Watson thinking better of attacking Thompson, and he goes into second place behind them, by the way. Bradley Burns is still battling out with Mike Horder. Oh, bang! Lewis Bibby says, well, thank you very much. If you're going to open the door, I'll barge my way through.
Yeah, Bibby got his elbows out there, but, you know, it was nice opportunistic stuff. Bradley Burns tried it himself earlier, and Bibby did it on a bit more of a committed level that time. You saw Bradley get out of it when he was trying to overtake Mike Horder. This is the move then. Down into turn 1, you can see Bradley Burns just down the inside of Horder. That was great stuff from him. Horder gets a nice run on the exit, and then Bibby just goes, yeah, go on then. Stick the nose down the inside. That was great, but yeah, a bit of a shame cheeky that there was contact. Yeah, it was a little bit naughty, but to be honest, Bradley got away with it, so we can look back on it lightly, I think, now. Not sure whether Bradley will and whether he'll trying to get one back over on him, but we'll soon see. Watson has lost the lead, and you can tell he's not very happy about it, so I'm wondering whether Thompson might have done that with a bit of a late lunge there.
No, it was down to turn 1. I believe. So that was what happened there between those two. But now Watson, it's got Alex Arana, who's a bit like a wasp. Oh. Just well, Watson made that rather easy and ran wide through the left-hander there, and that allows Alex Arana up into that second place now. Watson to third, the Pro-Am. The next Pro-Am is actually Mike Horder, who's right behind him in 4th place. Best amateur, by the way, whilst we're going on, because we're almost at the halfway point in this race already, is Dean Powell in 12th place. Yeah, Dean Powell, of course, finishing 3rd in that second race of the night. This is Mohamed Janko and Ethan Bass, the two Audis together. You think that the two supporters of the Audi would sit together? Yeah, what happened to Lewis? Looked like he'd done a lap of the Nordschleife there and then come back on from the Duttinger Her, but yeah, that was a bit of an odd one for Bibby. Maybe just a bit more contact from Bradley Burns. Maybe he's giving it him back, like I was saying. Let's have a look. He's on the back of Horder through the chicane. Very pacey corner through there. He's just going to run wide. Oh, yeah. No help from Bradley. And he can't get it stopped either, because on the grass, on the gravel, can't get it stopped. Gets back up and running. Luckily for him, it was his teammate. I don't think his teammate would have appreciated that, to be honest. No, definitely not. He was thinking, oh, hey, what's he doing now? What's this Bibby up to? But, you know, he's still in the top 10. We've got a good battle going on behind there. That is Christian Rose side by side with Mohamed Janko, Alex Neller and Ross McFarlane in there. Mohamed not wanting to leave all the room in the world there. He's now got to wonder about what Christian's going to do down the inside. Neller trying to poke his nose in as well in the Ford GT. That thing's still going well. Look at it. It's like something it's like a fighter jet from the 70s, that dash. You can see McFarlane in the rear view camera. I'm surprised it's got a rear view camera, to be honest. But it's on the roof. It's not a very low roof in that car, so I suppose you don't have to divert your attention much. McFarlane trying to get his nose down the inside as well. You can just see that menacing Merc. He has to get out of it.
to make sure he doesn't make contact, respectful stuff, but trying hard. But Nella, to be honest to him, Paul, he's doing a great job in getting this Ford around. What a great drive.
Yeah, really good driving from Alex. A lot better than last week. Fortunately for him, it was an abandoned race, so he didn't end up with any penalties from what happened on lap 1. But Nella in a good solid place. Ross McFarlane wants to make up places. You can see battling further behind as well. Pete Harrod's involved there. Look at McFarlane now with the extra grunt of that Mercedes. Oh, Nella getting a wheel on the grass there, held it onto it beautifully, and is keeping going there. Now down in 15th place with Adam Nally right behind him. Cal Moore has been working his way through the field and has been doing well. Matt Woodhouse trying to recover from what happened at turn 1. He's got Chris Byram alongside him. I did notice that Woodhouse does have a little bit of damage to his car from that contact with Nella. And he's suffering down the straights, you can see. Yeah, that car is massively hindered there as the P1 car goes around the outside at turn 1. Chris Byram there gaining the place from Chris. You can see Moreno Sarica was just in the background there as well. Pete Harrod, we haven't seen much from Pete tonight other than that incident in the first race, and he's trying to recover as well, but he's currently in 17th position. There is Moreno Sarica. He is in 23rd, as he's now ahead of Chris Wood. 24th position. You can see Mark Woodhouse was still trying the move on Chris Byram ahead of him there, but unfortunately still not able to make it work. Now we go on board with Bradley Burns, who is all over the back of Mike Horder. These two Pro-Am drivers giving it everything here, Paul, but Adam Watson streaking away with that Pro-Am win at the moment. Certainly is. 3rd place overall. Oh, well held there, Bradley. Good reactions then from Bradley, but that'll give him an extra half an inch in the seat there with the change of underpants needed, that's for sure. But behind him now, he's got Michael Evdoka, and these two are compatriots from the same outfit from Pure Sims, and they'll be in discussions with each other to say, well, Evdoka will be saying, excuse me, I'm quicker than you, let me by.
Michael is faster than you, and Bradley Burns will be saying, I don't give a damn. I'm just going to stay in front. He's like, I'm going to fight. Watch this. Oh, tries to hold a bit of contact. Well, there you go. Watch this. Famous last words, but maybe a bit late again from Bradley. We've seen him try it earlier on Mike Horder. This time, I'm afraid it doesn't pay off. Horder did go to defend, but I don't think that's on him there. I think as the car that's following, Bradley needed to concede that he wasn't going to make that work. In sim, I've just heard a massive bang all of a sudden.
I've noticed that Tom Jacobs and also Pete Harrod have had an issue. There's the contact between the two of them, and that's what goes off. Meanwhile, we'll have a look. This is Tom Jacobs. Now, this is all... Oh, Pete Harrod's lost it himself. He's going to come with the wheels back. Oh, there's contact between the two of them.
Sounded worse than it was, in all honesty. Oh, no.
That's
there
what
it
was.
Yeah, Tom gets finished off there by Chris Byron by the look of it. To be fair, look at that, Chris Wood through the middle. I'm just wondering, Paul, can we have a quick look back at that?
We'll try and have a look as things... I need to find Chris Wood on my timing screen. There he is.
Tom's car's very broken as well, but look at this from Chris. He just thinks, oh, heck, what's this accident? Nearly has an accident of his own, goes, oh, all right, cheers, boys. Nice one. See you in a bit. Through the middle. Fantastic opportunism there from Chris Wood. He just thinks... It turns it from almost an accident into 4 or 5 freebies there, but Tom's car, unfortunately, very damaged after that hit. And to be honest, when you've taken a Z4 to the front right, upright, I'm not surprised.
Lead 2 getting closer a little bit. Well, actually, Josh Thompson, 3 laps ago, pulled away from Alex. But Alex Arana is in the slipstream, and he is slowly gaining on his teammate. So Thompson, I'm sure he'll be loitering around our TeamSpeak server after the race.
He always is.
He'll be wanting to have a word with us, and we'll give him a firm ticking off if his team manager doesn't already do that. As further down, we've still got battling Kieran Chung and Daniel Lee. I believe, have they just switched positions? Yes, they have. So Chung moved up a position. Lars van Rijn as well has been battling, and Steve McAfee is putting the pressure on Chris Byron. Look at the front end of Chris Byron's car now.
It's like a 1 Series, isn't it now, the front of that BMW. Looking very grumpy indeed. unlike the current World Series, which actually looks like a very happy car in all honesty. It's got a massive smile on its face, but I imagine Chris won't have a big smile on his face after that damage. But at the moment, McCaffrey's just trying to poke the door open and just put that bit of pressure on. When you're following a car and you're not that close, it's all about just showing your nose into a corner. It may seem unnecessary to some, although Byron's gone wide there because of the damage, and down the inside, Steve McCaffrey makes it through. And into the right-hander, he's just going to think, right now I need to try and clear off. Here we are on board with Christian Rose, and just ahead of him, it's Dean Powell, so no love lost from race 2 here, Paul. I think that he's going to be thinking, oh, finally I've caught up with him, but what a great night Dean's having. He's got some proper pace in that Ferrari all of a sudden. Yeah,
this Ferrari is strong around here. Let's first of all point that out. That's going to be one of the reasons why Dean's been really good around here as they head on through the Schumacher S, up the hill, towards the top there. Brake, getting over this curb on the left-hand side, and Christian almost for all 4 wheels over that inside curb there. Does unsettle the car a little bit though, which is why he ran a little bit wide. But try and carry the speed out this corner heading towards the Vidal chicane. No moves coming at the moment, they're not quite close enough between the two of them. Now I can tell you that there is enough of a close battle up in front, and it's teammates, it's compatriots, it's Stadler and McClay. Now is Stadler going to let him through, or is it going to be a fight down towards turn number 1?
I'll be chucking stuff out the window at him as he goes down the straight at this point, mainly fingers, but he's going down towards turn 1 on the outside now. Surely the compromise line. McClay wasn't quite alongside as they got into the braking zone, but he makes it stick down the inside. Nice stuff there. And they'll have choreographed that slightly just to say, right, we need to make sure we don't lose time. Christian Rose tries to get the run here around the outside of Dean Powell, but Dean says no. A little bit sideways there at the apex, it seems, but he gets the rear end of that Ferrari tucked in again. Gets on with it. Christian takes a wide line on the way in, tries to get the car settled to the left, then get a good run out the right-hander. That's perfectly set up. Nicely done. Yeah,
that's what you're trying to achieve there. Oh, Steve! Oh, Steve McCaffrey. What on earth has happened down at turn number 1? We'll have a quick look, see if we can see anything of what happened. Don't say it's all on your own there, Steve. Carries too much speed, and around it goes.
Again, Lars Van Ryn. Lars will, every time Lars goes into turn 1 now in future, he'll have PTSD, honestly, just get flashbacks of cars just being stationary and spinning it around in front of him, bless him. He's had a very eventful race when it comes to turn 1, but he's avoided it every single time we've seen it so far. But now Christian Rose still on the back of Dean Powell, just trying to set himself up. He's got a good run out of the Schumacher S's. What's he going to do here? Dean's in the middle of the road, doing everything he needs to. Shifty gets it late on the brakes. Now he tries to get the crossover. Doesn't quite work. He's going to go for a cutback again. He just works on his own line here. And he gets a bit of a run, but not enough. And when you're this close in the slipstream, it's not always going to work. You want to come back from further away and get a better slingshot.
What I could tell you is I could hear on board that menacing Mercedes as well. I could hear it on the onboard shot with my headphones as, Powell getting a little bit loose. Here comes McFarlane. Now these two, McFarlane and Snell are almost getting into the back there of Ross McFarlane. We're starting the last lap here, by the way. Your race leaders are half a second between them. So we're not going to focus on them just for the moment. We'll see how this one pans out. But it seems that Christian Rose just stuck there for the time being in that position, and it's going to be McFarlane trying to put the put the pressure on, but also try to deal with Alex Neller behind as well.
Yeah, Alex Neller nearly used that Ford then as a doorstop underneath the back of that. Oh no, Dean Powell's dropped it in the left-hander, and Neller, never mind it's a doorstop, it slipped right through there. He's just gone, right, cheers boys, see you in a bit. But Dean Powell, not sure whether he got any help there from Christian Rose. They were very close together. We'll have another look. Paul is absolutely on fire with the replays again. Into the left-hander. No, it's gone on the, as it changes down. There was a tap from Christian to finish it off, but he didn't really have much of a choice there. He could have gone over to the right, but he may have lost the car himself. But like I say, Neller in that very big beefy doorstop, he's done a good job there, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's now ahead of Christian Rose and McFarlane. There's Nellis up to 10th place for him. But the two leaders are coming around towards the end of the lap. And I don't think, I'm not jinxing it yet, but I don't think that Alex Arana is close enough to make any moves. He's relying on a mistake from his teammate in front, and through this final chicane you can make that. But right now, as they're heading on through final corner, it's going to be Josh Thompson then for Williams Esport. It's Williams Esport who won race 1 with Alex Arana, and it's Josh Thompson who wins race 3 for Williams Esports ahead of Alex Arana. Good evening in this final race for Josh Thompson. Now, battling, still ongoing. Nella holding on ahead of Rose. Is it going to be a last lap dash? Well, Rose has gone very deep, and that's allowed McFarlane to make a move here. What will it be across the line right now? Well, what's the timing say? I think it just says Chrissy Rose just ahead by 2/100th of a second, as we've lost Adam McNally on this last lap as well. So something's happened to him.
What's happened to Harrod? Harrod's crawling across the line. He's had a bit of a night to forget, to be honest, as Pete Harrod. But if you're in a black or purple BMW, you've had a brilliant night to remember, to be honest, because Arana, Thompson and Gray being our 3 winners, they're all in BMWs with flashes of black or purple all over them. So an amazing performance by them. Here's John Roberts. Again, not setting the world alight, but 29th place, more championship points for him. 28th place as he crosses the line. Maybe not the night that he wanted. And here, I'm afraid, is Daniel Lee, who has not had the best of evenings, but just outside the top 30. Maybe he'll grab a 30th, actually, with the demise of Adam McNally. And it'll change on the windscreen just to prove me wrong. There you go. I was waiting for that a bit too long there. But yes, another fantastic race, though, Paul, and another deserving winner there. Josh Thompson, good performance off the back of little mishap that we're definitely not going to rinse him for later.
Certainly not, but here is your race 3 results then. So it is a Williams Esports 1-2 with Josh Thompson ahead of Alex Arana in second place. Adam Watson then, a really good third place, is your top Pro-Am driver. Third place ahead of Michael Evdoka. Bradley Burns, second place in Pro-Am, 5th overall ahead of George McClay and Harold Stadler. Lewis Bibby in 8th ahead of Ethan Bass, who finishes off your podium of your Pro-Am drivers. Christian Rose then ahead of McFarlane with Janko. Moore, Sarika ended up in 50. He dropped down to 34th after his having to tread through the pits on lap 1. So great recovery from Moreno to finish up in 15th. Mike Horder, Chris Wood, James Whitehouse is your top amateur driver. That's a real good way to finish the evening for James, ahead of Dean Powell, the second placed amateur. Pete Harrod in 20th place. Chris Byram is the third place amateur ahead of Lars van Rijn. Matt Woodhouse, an eventful time for him, ahead of Steve McCaffrey, who just binned it all on his own, as we saw on the penultimate lap. Kieran Chung, Matt Draycott, Simon Field and John Roberts ahead of Sean Gardner and Daniel Lee. And then these drivers are all 1 lap down or more. Adam McNally, who we lost on the final lap. Adam Hedgecock, Tom Jacobs, Simon Underhill, Gavin Baker, Ben Gregory, Michael Gray, Paulo Munoz, Pete Newman, Jake Blackall, Morgan Butler, who didn't take the start. Neither did Steve Burke and Cameron Dance. So that is your results there for race number 3 of the meeting.
Yeah, I was just having a look there to see what happened to Steve Burke, because I noticed that partway through the race he wasn't in the Discord chat. Usually he's there chatting away with my brother, his teammate, and I noticed he wasn't in there, but in practice he seemed to just go straight on when he got down to the Dunlop hairpin, so I'm not quite sure what happened to Steve there, but I hope everything is of course okay. But another eventful race though to end the night, Paul. That was very phenomenal once again. Second race of the night though, that was definitely the highlight for me. That was an absolute corker, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. We're going to have a word with a few of our drivers, and let's have a word with your race winner, Chaz Draycott, with Josh Thompson.
Josh. That was a bit of an up and down night that you had. Obviously a good result in race 1, and then the thing that we're definitely going to talk about in race 2, just a tiny bit of contact with your teammate. I mean, you asked me yourself whether we can delete the video from YouTube afterwards, but a race win in the end, you've got to be chuffed with that. And to be fair, it was a good all-round effort from the team in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, race 1 and race 3 were really good. Obviously, Alex is probably the best driver out of the entire team from us who at the Nurburgring. Obviously, he does a lot with all the VLNs and VCO, etc. So he's done 1,000 odd laps, he said, around there this year. So obviously, it was like full qualifying spec from the start of that race. I made a few mistakes. Tonight, I struggled with the balance of the car, like race 3, so I literally dropped it off the track instantly. So I was struggling to balance, but once I've kind of got used to it in race 1, I came back at Alex, which I was quite happy with. Shame we couldn't have a race, and same with race 3. I think I just had enough in the pocket at the end of the race, but yeah, overall, a good meeting for the team as well. Obviously, we've had a few people here and there having bad results. I was like Moreno in the last one. Both of us technically in race 2 because of me being something. And yeah, but good effort overall.
Yeah, it seemed like you guys, no matter what gets thrown at you, and basically, well, we've just apparently seen you go off as well. I've just flicked away from the screen just a second, but yeah, the thing is with you guys, no matter what gets thrown at you, much like some of the other teams in the series as well, but you guys in particular, you just always manage a way of coming back at it. You know what I mean? There's just what's the main thing, would you say, if you were to give any advice to other drivers in the series, if they have a mistake or have something go on, what is the main thing that you would say that you could try and do to get back on the horse?
I'd probably say the main thing, especially in this series, it's very easy to have one mistake which can lead into like 5 or 6, especially in like reverse grids in race 2 and 3. It's very easy to have an issue. So I did. I feel like you have to just reset and go again. Like mentally, just have to get it out your head and go. And that's what me and Moreno both did. We know we both had an issue in that race. We had to reset and go again, and we just got on with it. And what happens is some people dwell on the one issue, and what happens is then it correlates to like 3 or 4 issues in the race, and maybe have another contact or a half spin or something. So I think that's the main thing, especially in these races. But then before coming to the races, make sure you've done enough preparation. There's some people who come up with limited practice, sometimes not because of their own fault, but that really hurts, especially obviously for us. We do a lot of practice for events, so we're always on it no matter what weather and what scenario.
Yeah, and I think that the main thing, like you say, it's down to mindset a lot of the time, isn't it? You really need to be on it and prepared for what goes wrong. You don't want to have to deal with it for the first time when it happens during the event. So fair enough, though. Good comments, mate. And before we let you go tonight, though, do you want to give a shout out to anyone?
Yes, obviously you guys are broadcasting. I'll be watching that back later. Hopefully nothing to see in race 2 still. Obviously the guys of the team, so Alex and Moreno, like without them, it wouldn't be as fun this season. Obviously, first time we've actually done it with a full team again. I can't find them. Obviously, again, sorry Moreno for race 2. And obviously all the sponsors of the team. Without them, nothing would be possible.
Cracking. Well, good to speak to you as always, Josh. Well done on your race win in race 3, and we'll speak to you again very soon.
Cheers, guys.
So there we go then. Your race 3 winner, Josh Thompson, and we'll bring in another person who got a really good result there. Adam Watson, 3rd place in this feature race. You were feature race in the final race of the evening, should I say? You were involved in there up at the front for quite a bit of the first half of the race, weren't you?
Yeah, it was very chaotic, but yeah, kind of way like just trying to get a decent result out of this week. Car's not been handling great, but yeah, just trying to stay clean, try and get ahead of Mike, which was the main aim. But yeah, I see Michael and Vidoka closing me down, and that was a bit worrying.
I mean, we saw right on lap 1 how you had Moreno Sarica get to the front and then throw it off the track himself. So how bad was it on the cold tyres on that opening lap there?
In the Audi especially, it was kind of scary because the thing would try and snap every time you turned in. So you would turn into the S and it would just lose the back end. You can't take full throttle on lap 1. But yeah, when Moreno went off, I was like, oh, so this is how bad the track is then. No, it's not just us that are struggling.
Absolutely. So, your evening as a whole, then we've concentrated on race 3 there, but the evening as a whole, how do you feel that's gone? And also, how's the first half of the championship gone for you? It's been quite promising for the start.
Yeah, my championship has been quite up and down really. Started quite well at Silverstone with winning, but then and having some decent results. Sebring went okay, like us to stay in the top 4 in the Pro-Am, and then obviously I've missed Road Atlanta due to issues at home. with having no internet and electricity. Monza went okay until race 3, and obviously this round. Race 1 started good. Didn't think I had the pace because of qualifying. I thought I was further down than I would have liked to be. But yeah, race 1 went good. Race 2 was all on me. I spun out LDSs. So I was just trying to get back into the reverse grid, or at least one of the reverse grid places, to set myself up for race 3.
Well, you've had a real good result here in race 3. Before we let you go then, Adam, anyone you want to give a quick mention to here?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the sponsors for Pacewick Esports. So Craig's Upshop, Upshift, Immortal, Abruzzi. You guys would also putting on a great stream and everything for all of us. Carmore's been great for me. Been helping me get the car right and keeping me focused on what I need to do if I have a bad round. And also, if people can, Josh Thompson. Josh Thompson's really good at coaching and help you find out what you need to do for a track and help you improve no matter what your level is.
Well, there you go then. Adam Watson, Paceworks Esports Cobalt. Thank you very much, and well done on the 3rd place in that final race.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Chaz.
Cheers, mate.
So yeah, so that's another good result there for Adam Watson. And then our final interview of the evening, because we are running out of time here, is well, this is going to be a bit of an interesting one because because he's known for being quite talkative. So Chaz, take it away with Ben Gregory.
Well, this isn't going to end, is it, Ben? Good to see you, mate. That was not a straightforward evening. Obviously, the incident in race 3 there, but it seemed like some fantastic racing in that second one. How did you find it?
Yeah, definitely was proper fantastic. Like I was actually really, really happy with how race 1 and 2 went. Like qualified quite low down, about late 20s, high 20s, but yeah, made it up to 17th. Just missed out on the reverse grid on race 2, but still made it work in race 2 to get to 12, and felt so good that last one. But unfortunately, it's got caught up in an incident which I had nothing to do with, unfortunately. But
yeah, it happens a lot in these sort of these tightly packed fields, doesn't it? I mean, it's quite a big pack, and as I was saying at the top of the broadcast, there was always going to be a bit of a bottleneck in that first sector, but you know, you have to just go for it in these races, don't you? There's no holding back because of the fact it's a sprint race. It's very different to what we usually see from GT3 cars, isn't it? Which are usually hour-long races.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And especially when you're sort of nursing a car which doesn't feel like it's... Some of the other cars, especially the Ferraris, were so hooked up, and I felt very off-pace, especially in the corners, so I couldn't be too aggressive. If it was a longer race, I feel like I could have probably done a bit better, but these sprint races are very, very tough.
Yeah, they certainly are, mate. Well, we hope the rest of the season goes well for you, though, Ben. It's good to see you getting involved in the fights, at least, and out there on track. Before we let you go, though, mate, do you want to give anybody a shout-out?
Yeah, I'd actually give a shout-out to the Fitstab Boys for letting me sit in their channel and actually work with them a little bit as well. Even though I'm running a completely separate car, it's been nice to hang about with some people I get on with and race well with. So, yeah, thanks to all those boys.
Beautifully said. Well, good to speak to you as always, Ben. Well done on your results this evening. I know it wasn't quite straightforward, but we will hopefully speak to you very soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
There we go then, Ben Gregory. And, well, he's raced probably as long as the pair of us two have on iRacing, hasn't he, Paul?
Longer than me, that's for sure. He's certainly been... I make it sound bad, but he's been around for quite a while now on the iRacing service. But... yeah, that was, as you mentioned, race 2 was definitely the highlight of this evening's proceedings. And, by the way, whilst you were interviewing Ben, I managed to get a tickle in the old throat, so I do apologise. But, yeah, the race 2, highlight of the meeting here. But race 3, it had a bit more contact, a bit more of what we wouldn't see. But
yeah.
Given the first half of the championship is now over, we're going into the second half of the championship. We'll bring up the schedule in a bit.
Yeah.
Overall, the standard of driving has been absolutely excellent and really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I said before, a lot of the time in these series, when you bring in a real higher class of drivers, or the quality of the grid improves in terms of pace, sometimes the egos come with it, and there's a bit of a contrast from, you know, the guys that have been around since day one, and then these pro drivers come in, they don't quite know who they're racing against, they haven't heard of a lot of the drivers. There's always a bit of a clash when they're coming through the midfield, and it gets a little bit messy, but we've not really seen any of that, to be honest. I mean, there was the moment this evening with Alex Arana, but that's absolutely a drop in the ocean compared to the fantastic racing that we've seen the majority of the time for this first half of the season. And in all honesty, I can't believe that we're already halfway through the season. It's been that enjoyable, and they say time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely. It's certainly been an enjoyable first 6 rounds of the championship. We'll bring the schedule up on screen right now. So there we go, you can see that we've been at the Nurburgring here today. We've got a week off next week, so we're not on Monday night next week. We've got the week off for the new iRacing build, which I'm certainly looking forward to. I know you are, Chaz. But then the week after that, we're heading over to Motegi, over to Japan. Tricky track is that. Not a lot of series actually use that track, but it really is a challenge, and really is can produce some fantastic action.
Oh yeah, it's well, you said earlier it's an underrated circuit, and I massively agree. We used to do back in the old club series days, we used to do night races at Motegi, and it's such a fun circuit to drive on, whether you're doing the east, the west, or the full Grand Prix layout. It's just phenomenal. There's so many different corners there. There's fast corners, slow corners, double apex, right-handers and left-handers. There's uphill and downhill chicanes, and there's just a plethora of wonderful overtaking opportunities. And still, at the same time, it's another one of those tracks where, with the quality of the grid we've got here and the match of pace, it's going to be very difficult to overtake. But still, we're going to see some amazing racing, and I believe they will have the third race under lights.
Yes,
I'm hoping
they will.
they do.
They will have them. Yes,
that
they do.
goes down well with me.
So Motegi, I mean, it's an interesting block of 3 races that we've got then, because this series, it runs in blocks of 3. So we've got Motegi with 3 sprint races. Then we've got the endurance race at Spa-Francorchamps, before ending off this next block of 3 at Imola. So that is going to be certainly interesting, with further 3 sprint races in that one. But final thoughts from today's broadcast then, Chaz, from yourself. I've certainly had a good time, and if you can, if you've missed most of this broadcast, go back and watch race 2. It was fantastic.
Go back, because that was amazing. The second race of that night was just phenomenal. So much action and so much clean racing. There was a bit of argy-bargy here and there, but it's to be expected with the frantic nature of these races. I know that in real life GT3 racing, it's usually an hour or longer in these races, and they're all sort of like, oh, don't make contact, and yeah, we don't want contact. But sometimes you've got to be a bit lenient with it, and especially in this format, it's just so much fun. It's fun to race in, but I mean, commentating on it here on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network, it's a right barrel of laughs, and I'm really glad to see that the standards have been good. And of course, working with you as well, Paul, I mean, I think we've got a good thing going here. This has been a fantastic first half of the season, and I cannot wait for the second half. I really don't want there to be a 2-week break.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll have to have a 2-week break. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here on today's broadcast. If you do want track cameras on iRacing, like a little bit like what you see on our broadcast, not exactly like it, it's Fanballo. Trackcams22.com is where you can find them. Thank you to Chaz Draycott, as always, for being on commentary with me here. I've been Paul Smith, and this has been a RaceSpot TV presentation of the World GT Championship Season 8 Meeting 6 here at the Nurburgring. Until next time, in 2 weeks' time, from everybody here at RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network, it's goodbye.
Sometimes I'd like to be alone in my own mind. I feel at home within these walls. I fear my own absence of association.